Gordon's left. Tonali's about to go. Steve Nixon's about to go. Is anybody going to stay at Newcastle? And Tottenham. We're going to be talking all about Tottenham tonight as well. It's a great coincidence that we've got the Tonali news as well. They faced relegation this season, but they rose out of ashes and managed to stay in the league. So, what does next season promise for them? Find out right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Brilliant from Sham. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Schär
All right, folks. How are you all doing? Hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are blessed. And what a start to the week. What a start to the day. Plenty and plenty of Newcastle news that we've got to talk about. And what it is it's a great coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe everything is meant to be. Tonight's show was always going to be an in-depth cover of Tottenham and all things involved in Tottenham, going through their finances, going through their squad quality, their squad minutes, finding out what went wrong for them in the season just gone in terms of battling relegation, and what does next season promise for them. And so that all aligned very, very well with the news that's come in since yesterday, but into today even more forcefully. That is obviously that Tonali is looking very, very, very likely to be joining Tottenham. I think a contract has already been agreed, and there's a possibility that a fee has also been agreed. I'm looking forward to discussing it with our friend of the channel, hopefully once it comes on, Ash Matic. And I'm very, very blessed to be talking with him about that. But we'll also be talking a little bit in and around Newcastle United themselves as well at some point. We'll kind of interweave it as well. So I'm super, super looking forward to tonight. In fact, because there's tons of news actually involving Newcastle and involving Tottenham. Some would say that it was meant to be. It was meant to be. But before we welcome our guests, we just got my man James says, always here first. Incredible. Good to see you, James. God bless you. Says protection of the generational talent. I'm willing to let go of Sandro to a weak okay, to a weak team. All right. I hear you. I think it's Miley, right? It's Miley. Raymond, good to see you. Says hi to Philip. How are you now? Living life to the full. Said Raymond says hi to Philip. How are you about should sign for Baldi, I think, should sign for Newcastle now. Victor Miller should sign for £35 million. And Victor Miller should be doing his medical at Newcastle now. Has that actually been confirmed? Send me the link, Raymond, because we'll talk about it if that's the case. Do let me know, because I haven't heard anything else about it. But as mentioned, folks, tons of news. Tonight's show was all actually planned and scheduled to talk about Tottenham. You know, it's part of our From a Rivals Lens series. We've talked about Villa, we've talked about Man United, and tonight it just so happens to be aligned with the stars have aligned today that not only are we going to be talking about Tottenham, their finances, the squad quality, what happened in the season, their minutes and everything else, but we've got incredible, obviously, movement in the market involving Tonali and everybody else. And who better than our next girl of the show? You guys know, guessing he was a member of, not even a member, he's a friend of the channel now, has been one of the first at the beginning as well. You guys know that a lot of the work that he's done, I've been inspired by. And when we've got a lot of stuff to talk about and discuss and dissect, there is nobody better than this man to do it. So allow me, without further ado, to welcome our man, Ash. How you doing, sir?
Yes, my brother. How are you doing, man? I'm very well, of course. What can I say, man? This is uncharted waters right now. I mean, like you said, the stars aligned. Maybe it was meant to be. I don't know if I'm getting too soon. I don't know how to feel, if I'm being totally honest. But I've definitely been here before, so let me act correct.
I can feel the bass in your voice is returning. Your chest is gone. It's gone from here, and it's going a little bit like that now. Like it's.
Yeah. So we back, baby. No, wait. I'm joking. I'm joking. Yeah. So look, I said I don't want to judge the window until the end. A lot of people were going early, calling things out in my fan base. I said, let me just wait. Let me just be calm. Let me be cool. I'm not going to go too way forward to the right or too far to the left. I'm just going to chill. I'd admire from far. And that's what I'm doing right now, bro.
All right, let's see what's going to happen, and that's what you are generally, to be honest. So, uh, if you let's see what else is going to come to pass. I was saying to the folks, we will be talking about, and like I said, this is I'm not just doing this because folks know this is part of the series. It just so happened to be that the Tonali news has arrived, so we're going to discuss that first. But we are going to go into Tottenham and like as well in terms of generally like looking at your squad quality, your financial situation, what you are expecting from the summer as well. So looking forward to kind of going through that. And you've actually had a here we go today. But before we go into the here we go, let's talk first things first. Before we kind of get into the nuts and bolts of that your squad and everything else. To be honest, I don't even know whose news to pick because you can go from anywhere from Ben Jacobs, Ornstein, a lot more in the nose and everything else. And this is the latest from the bigger journalist. Ben Jacobs says more on Spurs and Sandro Tonali. Spurs are a serious contender and have money to spend despite no European football. Roberto De Zerbi driving the move, bid of around 85 million pounds plus add-ons, taking the package to around 100 million, expected to be considered by Newcastle. And depending on who else you listen to, the contract has already been agreed with Sandro Tonali, which isn't really a surprise. No one bids that high without, obviously discussions with the players and been agreed. So that's not really a surprise. But some are saying that, for instance, even the package might be a little bit more than 100 million. Some are saying it's up to 90 million and everything else. I don't even know where to start, but as a whole for you, like, what was it like first hearing this news? What's your whole kind of thinking behind it? Are you happy with it? What problem does it fix or does it upgrade? Like, what's going on?
Do you know what? Before we even get into that, if you can, guys, please make sure you are liking and sharing, especially if you're new to the channel. Big up to the chat, man. I respect you guys all the time, and I love the way you get involved. Also, if you are on X, can you retweet this? Just a quick favor. Those that are on X, quickly retweet it. Retweet the show.
Yes.
And I will retweet myself once I get tagged and I know where I can see the ats. I'll retweet myself as well. But yeah, listen. When I first heard, I'm gonna lie to you. I'm naturally optimistic in life. So my natural go-to, my wiring was excitement. Instantly, like Christmas feeling, because I really do like Tonali. He's a player I've liked from AC Milan, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity when you lot went for him with the whole gambling situation. No one would really touch him. I thought perfect. I want to see him in the Premier League, and he's young. That was the biggest thing for me. He was such levels. He had that quality about him. Had that Champions League experience. But then, like, it was so weird that he came to Newcastle, and I loved it because I was like, wow, he's gone to the Northeast, and he's just like, I'm here, like, let's go, baby, let's just do this. And he lived up to it, because people would say he had, there's a few seasons, there was like a season where he was kind of off, his numbers weren't as great, but those are like the overlying stats, like the goals, the assists, the stats that if you don't watch a play, you quickly look at those, yeah. But if you look a little bit deeper, and I always say to myself, how do you judge midfielders? Because you shouldn't judge a midfielder like you judge a striker, or like you would judge a winger, or even an attacking midfielder, because you would look at output first. Okay, cool. How old are they? Cool. How many seasons have they done it in this particular league? Because this league and that league, do they measure up? Do you know what I mean? Is the context the same from that league to this league? Is it a step up? Do you know what I mean? And that's where people always look at Champions League as a reference point. But for me, when I watched him and I looked at him and I saw the quality of player, even just the way he passes a football, that told me that his technical level is of a high quality. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I looked at him. I just said, yeah, boy, this guy would walk into Spurs' midfield. I think Spurs' midfield has been for a long time our biggest problem. And every time we play you, I just think you guys dominate us in terms of that kind of quality inside those areas, that midfield area. I think that's where you dominate us. And then, yeah, even out wide, to be fair, out wide, you got better players than us as well. So, yeah, when I was linked with Tonali, I was just like, yeah, this guy has to come and start if we do get him. But then, obviously, I heard the prices. And when I heard the prices, I had to kind of like, hold on, wait a minute, normalize it a little bit, because I do appreciate players like Fernandes from West Ham. He's going for 80 to 85 million. That's the rumored mark. Then you've got Alex Scott. He's going for a similar fee. Man's got the ball rolling, you know, with Nottingham Forest's Anderson, as you guys know, with 105 or rising up to 120 million. So straight off the back, the market was never going to be a true reflection of what prices were going to be of, you know, maybe what the players will be worth. It's always going to be a little bit more inflated because of the Premier League tax that's valued so highly at the moment. I just think the difference between Tonali and those guys, and the reason why I was like, okay, the 80 makes sense. That's in line with what everyone's doing. And then when I heard 85 plus and then to 90 to 100 million, I was like, well, that makes sense because he's been in the league not for one season. He's not a one season wonder. Like, in all fairness, like for me, Fernandes isn't a one season wonder because I thought he was good at Southampton. I've been watching him since then. But
Baby Bruno, I call him Baby Bruno.
Yeah, everyone's going wild. Recency bias is that, oh yeah, West Ham, he's a one season wonder. No, he's not. He's been doing it. But
he's been doing it.
Bournemouth, you could say it was his first season. Anderson, the same with Nottingham Forest. You could say, like, off the back of one season, these prices are being backed up. And last season, it was like 60 million was the standard. Do you know what I mean? So when I baked that all in, and a lot of Spurs fans, let me just tell you how Spurs fans, because obviously that's my opinion about, you know, Tonali and how I felt, like over the moon. Like I said, Christmas, that Christmas type of feeling, you know, where you can just see snow. Everything's sparkling. Do you know what I mean?
Home Alone settings. Home Alone settings.
Yeah,
on that. Like, yeah. You know.
Literally, like, bells are ringing in my ears. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, for me, like, I just think with the fan base, I think because they're not used to having this type of money being spent on one player,
right?
A lot of people don't know how to handle that money. They're like, well, why would you spend all that money on Tonali when Tonali doesn't fix the issues that we have? And then they will say, but with that money, we could buy 2 players. And why do we have to shop in the Premier League for when you could get someone of that level elsewhere? And so, like, you can see all of the trauma coming out of the fan base. Some people actually have denied it. Like, they said, well, you know, Fabrizio Romano, I don't believe that. He's just one of those journalists. Like, because we've been stung so much, they're like, oh yeah, he gets things wrong all the time. And then even though Ornstein hit rate's really high, they're like, well, again, it's just another journal. I still don't believe it. Do you know what I mean? And then Ben Jacobs has come out. They still don't believe it. They're just in complete denial. Oh, you're deluded if you think Tonali's going to ever come to that. That's basically. But I know what that is. That's like you're putting up your walls. You don't want to be hurt again, and so you're not accepting. Literally, no more. So literally, that's what's going on in the fan base. There's people saying, well, we need a progressive passer. Tonali is not the progressive passer or the tempo setter that we need to kind of like, it's all good, well, having a midfielder that upscales or is better than what we have, but you still got the actual problem there, which I hear. Do you understand? I hear that. But sometimes you have to put that to one side because they're saying it like, I think we're going to buy him and then that's it, we're done. Like the window's over. And there's an argument where like, yeah, that's where the argument comes in. If you spend all that bread on Tonali, where's the like, you're going to be left short. We still need to buy a winger. We still need to buy a striker. Like we were lacking creativity last season. It's like we don't have. We've got so many problems. Like we need a keeper because we couldn't keep out goals. We need defenders because we were leaking goals. We need midfielders because we couldn't create. We needed wingers and forwards because we couldn't score. And to hit 17th twice, I think that's what is shaking a lot of the people up. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what's happened, really. That's what's happened in the family. Me, like I said, I'm easy, bro. Look, if we get him, brilliant. If we don't, I at least know. Remember what you used to say to me. This is what you taught me, bro. At least you got to try for the guys. You got at least, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to get your hands dirty.
100%.
You got 100%. You got to go. Do you know what I mean? We were nervous to do that before. We didn't want to get burnt. We were shy. Like,
We didn't
really want to go for it.
We was in the trenches. We were mudded. We were covered in mud.
It was only last season that we started to go like, okay, the Gibbs Whites, your Eze's, you know what I mean? We started to kind of go for those type of players. Like, bro, you know what? We know who we are now. Like, we forgot, but we know who we are now. Do you know what I mean? And obviously we got rejected and, you know, it is what it is. It happened, isn't it? But I honestly think just because you got burnt once or twice, bro, it's like back in the day, you were moved to a girl, you know what I'm saying? You might get a rejection. Does that mean you don't move to any girls anymore and you become a nun or a monk? You know what I'm saying? You then say, oh, wow, rejection really hurt. I can't speak to anyone. So
do you feel like De Zerbi has helped you find your teeth again? Because this seems to be like a De Zerbi-led thing, and the aggression behind this. Because leading up to this, you know, it's all City. Is it going to be City? Is it going to be Arsenal? They're kind of dilly-dallying because they're thinking about 80 million. We could pay that and this, and it feels like in this one, De Zerbi's looked around and said, "Well, if you ain't gonna go get the number, I will." Like, I'm just, what's the worst that's going to happen? They say no. Is that it? He went on his phones. Go on.
I think, yeah, De Zerbi, before he came, he was like, listen, because you know he rejected us 3 times. He rejected us 3 times. Like, he said no, which I respect about Spurs, because that means like, you know, we got our man in the end. You know what I'm saying? You know, like Moesha. And was it Kim? She's always going after Hakeem, and Hakeem's like, no, man. But in the end, Kim gets Hakeem in it. I feel like that's Tottenham right now. Tottenham, we got rejected from De Zerbi. We finally got our guy, and now he said, like, he's no mug. He's seen what's happened to the other managers. He said, I'm not coming to this club to disrespect my name unless certain things are promised. Certain things are guaranteed. Do you know what I mean? First of all, I want 5 years. Second of all, I need to know how much money is going to be spent this summer, and I can get X, Y, Z players in. And then also, there's a big inquiries done into injuries as well. So everything's being looked at, even like the stadium. Like, is the pitch, the retractable pitch, is that the reason why we've had a few injuries over the last couple of years? No stone is being left unturned, basically, with De Zerbi. And I think he's come in. And he said, like, when he was growing up, Spurs were that team where we had like Glenn Hoddle. We were that kind of like flair team. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is before, like, you know, Arsenal were, you know, doing what they're doing now. This is before the Wenger days, isn't it? So before, remember, it used to be 1-0 to the Arsenal. So yeah, but even before that, they weren't a flair team. It was Spurs were meant to be the flair team. You're the ones that European trophies, whatnot. So De Zerbi came out and he said, like, rah, that's when he was watching football. That's what he said, rah, I used to like watching Spurs. So I can remember he's a number 10 himself. And so he liked that type of play, yeah. So he's basically come in and he said, look, I'm an attacking manager. I need a certain style of player. And if I'm going to come in, it's got to be my way. And I know at other clubs, that's where he gets more power. And I think for Man United, I think they were looking at him, but they wouldn't give him as much power. I think that's where it broke down. And I think maybe Chelsea was another club that he might have had his eye on, but nothing materialized because they wouldn't give him that power. And I know he left Brighton for that reason. Do you know what I mean? Because he wanted more power and they were like, no, we've got our data model led search approach. You're just a coach. And he's like, see you later. I'm not having it. So yeah, I think that's what's going on. Like, but just to pivot back to Tonali real quick as well. One thing I forgot to mention, maybe because the whole Italian thing, national thing, that could be a thing when they speak in their hometown.
100%.
I know he could be missing that connection. Like, I don't know how many Italian players are up there in the northeast, but
just to
you know, we feel, sure, there you go. If you've got the gaffer coming in, talking, and they've got that commonality.
And it's from the same town. They're from the same town. They're from yeah.
But I was going to get to that. So yeah, they come from the same town. It's like, yo, I'm talking to you. I'm saying, bro, come check me, man. Mom, like, remember we used to go Peckham, we used to go Old Kent Road, and we start talking about, yeah, hey, do you remember like the summertime? And we could relate. We'd be like, you know what? I want to come down and check Ash and things like that. So I think that's been a massive pull. And I think that's the project he's probably selling to him. And I think he's going to use, if he can get Tonali, I think if he does get him, he could be a catalyst for other players wanting to come, because people could start to see the project and say, look, oh, what? So Messi's gone. Obviously, Van Hecke's come in today. You know, Savinho could be on his way. Who knows? I'm just saying, like, that could be like the pool for other players thinking, because I remember when Man City first got a big pool of money, and I was like, right, how are Man City going to do this? And then they got Robinho in. I was like, oh, okay. All right, they're serious. That's how I feel about the Tonali signing. I'm not saying he's Robinho level, but I just think
the catalyst or something.
It's an intense signing. So people are now looking at Tottenham a little bit different. Before they were like, yeah, you know, they try hard, but you know, they're not. No one was really scared of us. Do you know what I mean? No one's really taking us serious. I'm not saying they're scared of us now, but even just the fact that we're going to spend big, because we don't really spend big. Our record fee is 60 million. That's our biggest transfer fee. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, a lot of fans have got a problem with the whole 100 million. Oh, it's too much, or even 85. Oh, they've never been there. But I want us to spend that money. I want us to be reckless in the window. Do you know what I mean? I want us to be like, bro, like, we spent big, and this is what it feels like. Do you know what I mean? We've seen what Chelsea's done with the whole Caicedo and Enzo, the 100. We've seen what Arsenal did with the Declan Rice. Do you know what I mean? 100 million. Man United have been doing reckless spending. Liverpool just started it. They just had it the other window. Do you know what I mean? And so with the removal of, you know, the chairman, Daniel Levy, I personally think it's time, if the board want to show like this is a new direction and we're moving different, then yeah, I think this is the way to do it.
Well, I was going to ask you, because you kind of touched on it as well, and it is going to relate to it. So say again?
No, you can still ask me.
Yeah, because it's about being taken serious. I don't know if you saw. Well, you kind of talked about Tottenham fans even not taking this serious, but like, what did you think of like rivals and others also kind of saying, especially when it first emerged, like, no, this ain't gonna happen. This ain't serious. Like, who's it? And all that's gonna happen is someone else is gonna come and take a girl. Just like, remember Eze, this, that. Like, it didn't. It wasn't. It wasn't taken. And our own fan base is guilty of it. It's a bit different where. It's a bit more complicated with us, where people are losing their minds over it a little bit. It's not everyone, but they're like, Tottenham? Why Tottenham? It's like, if it was City, if you Man, because that means the project must be failing, because if it's Tottenham. And I think people to the 2 relegation fights recently, I've got people forgetting that Tottenham are actually a massive club. No matter what, however you look at it, they were 10 years in a row in the Champions League finalists too. Recent Europa Cup winners.
Yeah.
Whether Newcastle fans like it or not, a bigger fan base, a bigger revenue, a bigger stadium. So, so I don't necessarily look at it as. You can look at it as in recent form and teams, the way the teams are, as a sideways step, but not necessarily as a club. I think in terms of Tonali as well, maybe what folks might want to say is that this has been coming up for months now. Like on my channel, I've been talking about transfers. So maybe that's why I'm taking it in my stride more. But like, the idea in terms of Tonali was he's always going to move to a Champions League club. He's always going to move to a Champions League club, which Tottenham aren't. They're in the same boat as us. So that I think that's where maybe some of the mindset is. So it's a little bit different for Newcastle fans. But like, how do you take it in terms of fans, maybe rival fans, maybe even some Tottenham fans are saying it where they even feel like, but why is he? Why is he come here?
Right. No, you're right. Yeah. Some Spurs fans have said that. Oh, if he comes to Tottenham, I've lost all respect for Tonali. What? Are you the same team as me? Or, like, I don't understand what's going on. You know what? It's funny because we've had this last season as well. We're in a hard. I feel like we're in the middle between. Was that a hard rock and a hard place? I can't remember the saying.
A rock and a hard place. A rock and a hard place.
That's where we're at because we've got yourselves and we've got Aston Villa, who for the last few seasons you've not been hitting the Champions League. You've been in and around that spot, and you've been finishing above us. So, with that being said, you guys kind of look at us on either the same level, or maybe slightly above because you've been, finishing above us, and so that's where that comes from. So, when it comes to like, I don't know, last season we were linked to Morgan Rogers. We linked to Morgan Rogers before Morgan was white, and it was 80 million for Morgan Rogers then. And Villa fans were like, yeah, there's no way Morgan Rogers goes. That's a sideways step. There's no way he goes to Tottenham. Like, even though we get to Scotland, we got the same thing. And then and also fast forward when we went for Eze, a lot of Palace fans didn't want him to go to Tottenham. They just said no, he can't go to Tottenham, but would be happy to see him to go to Arsenal because that would be the right career move. That would be the step up that he needs. Do you know what I mean? Like local fans, I remember just watching like Palace fan TV, like, and they're talking to people walking down Sirhouse Road, and they were just coming out with these comments. And then you've got the people that are above us in the food chain talking down to us as well. Why are you here? Why are you in the Big Six? Blah, blah, blah. And then we've got rivalry, like a weird rivalry in London where a lot of these teams, Chelsea, we've got a massive rivalry with them. Arsenal are our biggest rivalries with Arsenal because we're both in North London. We're literally next door to each other. So you got Arsenal and Chelsea that never trade with us, but they trade with each other. Weird. West Ham hate us because they're East London. We're like North East, so we're on the cusp of that borough. Like, so it's like where Tottenham lies into like going into East. Like, it's weird, isn't it? So we've got those guys beefing us. West Ham, they're below us, but they don't like us. They don't like selling to us either. So then, like, look around, and it's like, wow, we can't buy from West Ham, can't buy from Chelsea. Chelsea never sold to us. Arsenal hate us. They've never sold to us. Arsenal never. Then you've got, do you know what I mean? So we've got like enemies.
No respect. I know. Yeah.
Do you understand? And that was even before this whole relegation thing where everyone was buying us to go down because they were like, wouldn't that be funny if the so-called Big Six team, this big team went down? It would be hilarious if they went to Championship. Do you know what I mean? So, like, yeah, from what you were saying, your question, to answer your question, it was just like, it's been happening. Tonali would be a massive shock. I remember like Henry came out and he had a statement. He said, yeah, this would be a massive statement for Tottenham. and rivals would look at them differently if they brought Tonali in. That's what he came out and said. Not quote for quote, but I'm paraphrasing.
That's how, yeah.
So I'm like, listen, like if Thierry Henry's saying that, I'll take that, man, because he's like the legend, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? Regardless of who he played for, Henry's the man. So yeah, that's how I'm pretty much looking at it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I think before we move to Van Hecke, I think just from a Newcastle point of view, because we're going to talk a little bit about, because like I said, we're going to get into your squad and everything else. So we're going to talk about maybe a little bit more in terms of play style, what he can complement. We're going to be able to do that. Yeah, I think maybe this is just speaking for me and maybe as well some of the folks on our channel, because we've been preparing for the transfer window like 2 months before. So we was like laying out the strategy, the plans, like, and everything else, what the club was saying. We've got everything kind of worked out in terms of, so I was expecting 2-3 blue chip Newcastle players to go, one of them being Tonali, possibly Bruno. So a whole like load of guys and everything else. So maybe that's why I'm kind of more taking it into my stride in terms of what's happening. For us, the main thing is it's never been IDing the right type of players. We've been very, very good at that. It's about executing those deals. And the difference been this season, I'm sure you would have noticed, like we sold Gordon right away, like literally really, really quickly. The Tonali deal was moving very, very, very quickly. You're not getting a saga drawn out. Tottenham are interested, but Newcastle are sending out messages of never till I die. It's like, that's not what's going on here. They're like, okay, talk to them. If they meet our value. Yeah. So it just gets things moving a lot quicker. So I'm confident in terms of the players that we can ID. Hopefully we can execute those deals and get those players over the line. I think that's the main thing. And that's part of our growth. It's funny because rivals were saying last year, they're calling us now a selling club. Last year they were saying that we were holding players against their will. Now that we're more proactive, they're saying we're a selling club. So the reason why I don't think we're a selling club, whereas a selling club is a club that literally develops players for the purpose of selling them, I don't think that's what Newcastle are trying to do. I think they're trying to do two things. And I think City even do this, is we would like players to join us to help us win trophies going forward. But if they don't want to be here for whatever reason, we'll move. We're not gonna have the Isak situation, essentially. And so we've been very proactive in that. And like you said, I think it being Tottenham, it's really like, it's so, I almost feel like there's like I think there's it's hit like people, like I said, prefer for it to be Arsenal or City, and like it's more acceptable. And I don't know, it's a weird thing, man. There was an I don't know. I think there's something that's captured in people's minds about what the league is and everything else. So, but I think the main thing is I'm more looking forward to obviously the money that's coming in and just seeing who we get next in terms of that. But there was also, before we get into the nitty gritty, they actually did get a player over the line this season. This window. Where is he? And it's Van Hecke. Literally a couple of hours ago, Tottenham, Fabrizio Romano says, Tottenham agree a deal to sign Jan-Paul Van Hecke from Brighton here. Here we go. It's an official one. New defender wanted by De Zerbi joining on £50 million deal. So there's no add-ons. Agreement club done after play accepted. Conditions last week. All done. Vuskovic is a separate case that's happening. I even saw a little bit of add-ons to that where not necessarily Fabrizio Romano, but you guys are still talking to Brighton possibly about Bart Verbruggen. But in terms of Paul Van Hecke, obviously he comes in on the back of Robertson and Senesi. Obviously Van Hecke. What's your kind of thoughts on Van Hecke, and what's your thoughts overall in terms of? It looks like you're spending about 150 million in a week at the moment as well, combined. I mean, like what's your thoughts on all of that kind of put together, Van Hecke and everything else?
Van Hecke, this is a De Zerbi signing. If we're talking about backing the manager,
100%,
you're literally plucking out one of the players that used to play for him, and that you can just say like, right, you know, this is for the guy, you know, we're backing him. So I'm absolutely happy because I think one of Spurs' problems was ball progression. The first phase, the build up, literally playing out from the back, whatever we're going to call it. We didn't have that on a consistent basis. We had Romero, but for whatever reason, he's been either injured or he's missed games through suspension. And we've had Danso there. He's been a solid defender for us. But that first phase, we did have problems before Kingsley came in with Vicario. Wasn't the best at kicking. Danso wasn't the best at passing out. And Van der Ven is more of a carry first than a pass first type of defender. So when we've got Van Hecke, and I know last season he was one of the best defenders in the league, and even this season, just behind, I think, Van Dijk, he's been graded one of the top defenders. I think he got either 11th, I think he became 11th in the Premier League graded in terms of like the list of top players. So yeah, we're getting a top player there. But like just statistically, we needed someone that could progress the ball. Because De Zerbi likes to bait the press, as you know, and he likes third man combination. And that all starts with the centre backs. And he's notoriously known for passing inside. So doing the inside passes. What do I mean by that? So outside passes will be more towards your wingers. Inside passes are more to your centre mids. And so he's progressive. I think he's either first or second in terms of inside passes in the league. Then you've got switches of play, balls over the top. I think he ranks like top 3, top 4 in the Premier League. First time passes under pressure. Again, he's like one of the top 5 centre backs of that. And then how much time he gets on the ball as well. And we know that because he likes to bait pressure. He likes to draw the player in, make them move. And then that's what opens up the gap in the midfield. And then that's when he punches the pass through the lines. So he's a great, I call it pass resistant player, where even if you're putting him under pressure, he's still able to find the player higher up the pitch. And so under Frank, in my opinion, we avoided that central area. We avoided the midfield like the plague. And we went around the outside. Van Hecke, he is the opposite. He's going to want to pass through the lines. He's going to want to step into midfield as well because he can carry the ball. And so that's something that I think is going to improve. A lot of people have been saying, Airily is quite poor. I don't think he's poor. I think he might be average. But from what I've seen in the World Cup as well, and I was watching the last few games since we were linked with him, I think he's okay. He's not bad in the air. Set pieces, maybe. I'd say maybe in corners he could be a bit stronger. But these are all coachable things, in my opinion. He's still quite young for a defender, in my opinion. He's 26 now. So, Van Hecke. And he's a Dutch international. So what's really good about that is that Mickey van der Ven is also Dutch. And you've got a Dutch pairing.
Do you think he's staying?
So Mickey van der Ven?
Yeah.
He hasn't signed a new contract yet. But Robert De Zerbi came out and said that he thinks he's the best left-sided centre-back in the league. But obviously he's going to say that to try and keep him, try to make him feel welcome. But I just felt like in the last 6-7 games, he started to turn up. Before he had checked out, his mind was gone. And apparently his dad is his agent. And apparently his dad's a bit more happier with the way things are going right now. Because before they were looking for other clubs. So there's a possibility he does stay.
It was the same for Porro. He stayed as well. So the De Zerbi
magic
is working.
He signed a new
contract.
Yeah. So
this is also Van Hecke's metrics from Data MB. You guys know how much I love Data MB. This is from 25-26 season. So you can tell literally he's got elite stats in terms of progressive passes. He's in the 98th percentile. You can hardly get any higher than that. Passes completed, 86th percentile. He was also a progressive carries at 99.1 percentile, which is vicious. But also what's impressive about it, I know people are going to talk about aerial duels, and we spoke about it, aerial duels, but his defensive duels are still magnificent at 78 percentile there. So we've seen him play in terms of just the eye test and everything else. He's an aggressive player. I think fairly aggressive as well. I don't think he's like a dirty player, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
um,
he stepped into the midfield to win the ball high up. So it's like what Romero does. He's like a stopper. So rather than being a more of a sweeper centre back, he's more engages higher up, tries to win the ball high up. That's the type of defender he is.
so I think you're going to get your Tottenham back. By the sounds of it,
I hope so.
it
I
looks
hope
like
so.
it looks like you're going to get your Tottenham back. So that's
I've even
obviously
I've even
that.
sent you something in the chat as well.
I was just thinking, actually, great minds. We both got our stats out. Let me
Get the
put
stats out for the
this.
lads.
And I was like, because I put the old data MB, and then literally, I didn't even see you do that, and then I just see this as well. Can you see on the screen?
Yeah, we can see passes to the final third. It says, and you've got
Okay, do you want to go through it?
yeah, you've got Ryan Flamingo from PSV, 22-year-old. He's got 289 passes in the final third. Then you've got Angel Stiller, who's a great player, is being compared to Adam Wharton in terms of progressive passes. He's second, he's 23. And then you've got Van Hecke last season when he was 24. He had 233. So that's going to be a massive improvement for Spurs in terms of passing through the thirds in the final third, not just like passing forwards from like the goal kick, for example, or when a goalkeeper gives it to you, or the fullback passes it to the centre back and he passes it forward. No, this is in the opposition half, pinning teams back, and he's passing the ball forward. So for me, that's a massive upgrade. Sent you another one as well if you want to show that one real quick.
Yeah.
It's even more detailed.
Okay, so let's share this one instead. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah. Could it zoom in anymore? Well, actually, that's fine, to be fair. Perfect. If you scroll up a little bit, I'll read it from the top. So yeah, overall, again, percentiles, he's in the 93rd percentile, he's second. So that's just for key passing metrics. Passing, second for passing. Pressurized passing, he's third. For duels in the league, for defending, he's 12th. So he's that. I don't want to say he's average, but in the mid range.
That's good. It's in the very good, like it's in the good to very good session.
Yeah. For 1v1 defending, again, 23rd, but again, out of the 93 percentile, again, clearances, 27th. Positioning, he's 32nd, but 79.2 percentiles, which is really good. Unpressurized passing. So this is where we get into it. This is the tasty stuff. Unpressurized passing, one-touch passing, through balls, over the top passing, ball distribution, and even like the aerial duels aren't bad. If you look at the aerial duels,
not bad.
That's pretty good.
21st.
Yeah, 50-50 duels, good again, tackling, decent, dribbling, defending, not bad, carrying, defending. But again, like I said before, what's really impressed me is the through balls, the one-touch passing, the unpressured passing is unmatched. So he's getting time on the ball. He's allowing himself more time on the ball. He's working the angle for himself. And what that means is that when I say working the angle, when you've got less angle bias, some people need to get it on their weaker foot to pass out to a certain angle, but he can hit a pass no matter the angle, if that makes sense. So he can switch out to one flank, but then he can also make a chip ball into a particular area, and he doesn't have to change his hips, or he can still get it out. He can still get his pass out.
Talented on the ball. So I think we're going to see a very attacking Tottenham for sure, creative as well, and he's no slouch. I think people are kind of not over egging. I don't know if that's the right word. Yeah, maybe talking a little bit too much about his defending. It's not. We're not calling him Paolo Maldini.
No, of course not.
Do you know what I mean? But he's not. He's not Dragozin. He's better than Dragozin. Put it that way. Um,
Yeah.
James says, Ash, I thought you still wanted to go to Everton. To Everton. Let me know what you mean by that, James. Do you mean like a player from Everton? Is there a player from Everton
Oh,
that you
what,
guys are looking
Brentford?
at?
Who said Brentford? I thought
Yeah, is it
Brentford was
Bamford you
going
guys?
to City. I thought City were going for Brentford. Or I don't know. The Everton player I like is Ndiaye. If we're going to talk about Everton players,
Okay.
but
Not sure. Let us know who you mean, James.
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. But yeah, Van Hecke, like some of his weaknesses, I'll say on the transition, because he does push quite high up, he can get caught out of position
And
and
the thing
slow
is,
on the turn.
you're gonna have him and Porro on the same side.
Yeah, it's
And
an
they
issue.
both are guilty of the same thing. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be scary
that both
times.
defending. Yeah, what tricky wingers? You better watch out. We might need a top number 6 to kind of clean up. Just saying. Need a mobile midfielder to kind
I
of
hear
help.
it. I hear it. I hear it. I hear it. I hear it.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk. So, guys, we're gonna be talking some more about the new players that are coming into Tottenham as we're kind of Van der Ven. I don't know what you mean. Van der Ven is leaving. Is not? Do you mean that? Is that what you mean? Like he's leaving?
What's go
Spurs.
Everton? He's not going to go Everton. You mean Liverpool?
It's not. Yeah, it's
Van
probably
der
gonna
Ven
be
beat
Liverpool.
Liverpool, but Liverpool they've got their 2 centre backs, haven't they? They've got the 2 young kids, Leone and is it
And
Jacque?
Jacket or something.
Jacque,
Yeah,
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 Jacque,
yeah.
yeah. Ghana. Oh, so he used to take Ghana. I like Ghana. Ghana's all right.
Yeah.
Take Ghana instead. Yeah, I hear it. Apparently, we wanted to get Gibbs White. I think that I don't know. I think it's too late now. Too many clubs are onto him. But apparently, we wanted Gibbs White to play a deeper role when we wanted him. But that was under Frank, innit? Frank wanted him to play the deeper role.
But it makes sense though. So I think
Yeah,
he'll make a better 6 than Tonali would. Tonali's an
yeah,
8.
So that was the idea.
Um,
That's what they sold him to come to Spurs, and
I
he
think you
bought
can
it. He was
still get him, and because you showed such like big interest in him before, that goes a long way. You made the groundwork
yeah.
for him. And if he's now sees Tonali coming in, to Nessie, like he's thinking, "Raw, this is serious."
All right,
So
we get both. Listen, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself, man. I'll be talking reckless. I'll be real. I'll be talking
yeah,
mad reckless if we get both. Right now, I'm still humble. We ain't got none.
do
Right now, we've got nothing. So,
you know what I was laughing because I looked on WhatsApp and I saw Kunle. He looked at the Jacobs post that I showed you and he goes, "Nah,
yeah.
I still don't think it's happening." I'm like, right, like everyone's like in full denial mode. It doesn't matter who says it. It's insane.
I
It's
love it. I love it.
insane.
I love it. It's
It's
history, isn't it?
insane.
It's the history.
Me, I literally accepted it a couple of days ago. I'm like, I can't believe this is still. I'm just like, what's the money and who we're gonna get?
Yeah, you're
Okay,
forward
folks.
thinking.
So
You're like on to the next one. You're like me still.
yeah, I literally like literally I've learned so much from last year. Like I'm way less reactive in terms of like everything that's going on. Like I expected this. If anything, I'm expecting one more blue chip player to leave. Hopefully, it's not Hall. It's not going to be Tino now because he's injured, but we'll see. So, folks, we're going to be obviously we're going to be talking. We're going to get a lot more in depth about. We're going to talk a little bit now about through their finances a little bit before we get into their squad depth and everything else. And I've got no better man to be able to talk about it. So, send in your questions and everything else. And we're going to be seeing, obviously, we're still going to be talking about Tonali and others and how they're going to help Tottenham develop throughout. So it won't take too long on the finances because I have to first say, and this is something that again, Newcastle United are hopefully going to be are aspiring to in terms of growing their revenues. When it comes down to it, so I used Ash for your kind of information. I went to Tottenham's websites, your statements. I think I went Swiss Ramble and the Athletic. So I got 2 sets of data because one of it's a bit updated. So this is mainly from your 24-25 season. But there is a slight update that I got from the Athletic. And I used a bit of AI to get to find out where you guys are in terms of your SCR. The bottom line is when it comes to your revenues, amazing, like excelente, like 565 million, like just growing. I know you guys get bantered a lot for it, but that's only because the football inside people lets you down. But when people that's what I'm saying. When you actually sit down and talk about it, like if there's an exampleship of how to make money
Yeah.
without even just selling your players, it's Tottenham like is the example to follow. But what surprised me was because the last time I read about Tottenham's finances, it was all kind of around, you guys were well below any SCR concerns or kind of PSR concerns because you're doing so well. But I come to find out your expenses have absolutely fluctuated, and obviously you've not had Champions League, so your wage bill has grown, your amortization has grown, and as a result of that, it's essentially caught up with your revenue in one sense. So you'll see right at the bottom there. This is like this was before I even looked at. So the Athletic. I'm going to speak about Athletic in a moment. So because they covered your expenses as well. So me and my AI weren't too far off. So obviously everyone knows that we swapped from PSR to SCR, and I wanted to know going into this summer, where was Tottenham in terms of your SCR? Obviously 70%, when we're talking about squad cost ratios, that for the folks that might not be aware, that covers transfer fees, agent fees, wages, compared to the revenue that club earns. So Tottenham revenue is 565 million, right? Their current squad costs, amortization, all of that all together at the moment. I didn't see where's that number for it? It was somewhere. Whereas the total costs is at between 418 to 423 million, which takes you up to 74% to 75% of your SCR. Now, that would have been three things. That would have been problematic if you were in the Champions League this season, because Champions League only allows clubs who's got 70% squad cost ratios to be able to play in the Champions League.
Yeah.
If you're not in the Champions League, that goes up to 85% SCR.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit more. So when it comes to that, you've got tons of financial headroom in that, which makes sense why you're spending the big money that you are now.
Yeah.
What happens if you get to the Champions next season? That's a conversation from another time. Just put it this way: you're gonna have to make some serious sales.
Yeah.
But just to update that cost, I read the Athletic, and because like I said, the statements I got was from 24-25 season going into this season, and since that time you sold Brennan Johnson.
Yeah.
So Brennan Johnson actually took your SCR back to 70% because you made the profit on him and as well. Because I can't remember what your book value was. How long was he at the club for? How long was he at Tottenham for before you guys sold him?
23 or 24? I think it was 24, 25 season. He came,
so about 2 years?
Yeah, about 2 seasons, yeah.
And how much did you buy him for?
50? Just over 50 million.
Oh, jeez. Okay. And you sold it for 35.
Yeah.
Sorry, out here I've been used to selling well. When I hear this, I'm like, this is scary stuff. Okay, so the Athletic literally they released a statement on your finances on June the 2nd saying you're back to 70% SCR on the back of the Brennan Johnson deal. I don't know how that meant. Maybe because you took off his wages as well.
Yeah.
So. But obviously, this doesn't count Robertson. This doesn't count Senesi. But essentially, if you were to go to the Champions League, you would have been able to get into it. But you're not in the Champions League, and it goes to 85%. So I thought that's where you are at, and I'm fairly confident in that now that especially the Athletic kind of came back to it. So what that essentially means, and obviously, is that you've got, if you go right down here, roughly. This is before the Robertsons, Tonalis, and everything else. You've got roughly 55 to 60 million pounds space to be spending before you hit 85% in terms of your squad cost ratio. So for the folks that are kind of thinking, wow, man, what's all this? What does it all mean essentially? If you break it down in terms of what Tottenham can or can't do, what I wanted to see was what can Tottenham spend before they make sales, right?
Right. Okay.
With all of that kind of in, for example, so if you use example one, Tottenham buy a £40 million player on a 5-year deal. So £40 million, 5-year deal, annual amortization about 8 million, which is about 100K a week. It takes about SCR with the wages as well. So overall impact's about 13 million. So if you fit 13 million into 60 million, that's what, 4 players, 5 players, something, 4 players. So you can probably buy 4 before sales, about 4 £40 million players on 5-year deals. Obviously, that gets a little bit less if you buy a £60 million player on 120K, 18 million, about 3 of those players. And example 3, where we're getting to Tonali territory, sheesh, 80 million pound star on a 5-year deal, which would work out in total about 26 million per year. So almost half of the SCR room that you've got spent left over. And I did ask about so yeah, that's the breakdown of it. I did ask about the Tonali deal. So I kind of estimated, and you might correct me on this, but I kind of went to the highest I can think of is, so say Tottenham do spend a total package of 100 million on Tonali on 200K a week on a 5-year contract, that would total about 30.4 million on your SCR. So literally slash half of your SCR kind of headroom that you've got left, which kind of makes sense in terms of you've got Senesi on a free, you've got Robertson on a free.
Yeah.
So you can see how Tottenham kind of moved assertively. And obviously that's not counting the Van Hecke money as well. So I thought I would kind of, because you was talking earlier about what Tottenham fans were saying about, we spent all this money. Why do we spend all this money? How is it gonna? We've got X amount of kind of situations to talk, places to positions to fill. I mean, if you buy. If you're going to get Van Hecke for 50 million, so he's somewhere in between that 40 million mark and the 60 million mark, and you've got Tonali, right? So I'm going to guesstimate here, because I'm just thinking about your transfer move. This is before you actually made any sales, because I'm going to ask you about your sales in a minute.
Yeah.
You're probably, so 5-year deal, you probably say 15 million plus the other one, 45 million. The Roberts, how much is Robertson and Senesi on? What's the wages there? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head, I don't know the wages for them, but I can mark it and find out.
Say they're about, what would they be? About 150K each?
Yeah, you can say give or take. Yeah.
So we'll say like wages 7 million each, 7, 14. Plus Tonali 30, 54, plus the other one for 13. So you'll be over. I'm expecting you guys to start making sales pretty soon.
So
Put it this way.
currently is on 160,000 a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ness will probably be around there. So you're probably, if you add the Van Hecke deal, the Tonali deal, Robertson and Van Hecke together with before sales, I personally would say that you're probably heading towards reaching that limit if you add their wages and everything else together. So were you kind of anticipating something on the lines, and are you guys planning to make any sales? Is there anybody because I think Basuma's leaving as well. Basuma's there, for instance, as well.
Gone, left. Basuma's being released.
So that's a big wage taken off as well.
So basically, what's happened is the club, the CEO, not the CEO, sorry, the owner, they've basically said that they're looking to do a 200 million art collection for sale. They've got like lots of art. They've got like over $1 billion worth of art. They've got over $1 billions worth of art collection. And
what's that got to do with your club though? What, that's going to add to your profits? You can do that.
Yeah. So they're going to sell their most valuable collection.
The owner.
Yeah. So the most valuable collection ever to be auctioned off in Europe. That's what they're doing. So they got artists like represented by Gustav Klimt, Egon Schiele, Amadeo Modigali, Francis Bacon, Gustavo Callebiat, just to name some, innit? Quite a few. But it's believed that a portion of that could be cash injection, and that's going to be pumped into the summer window that you're seeing right now. Killer, motherfuckers!
I've never, like, you guys know how to, this is, wow. By any means necessary.
By any means
like,
necessary. I think they mean business. So we're getting a 200 million injection, basically. We did it before where we had 150 million injected, but we didn't see it. But this time they're saying that they're looking to inject the 200 million for football reasons. And hence why you're seeing some crazy movements at the moment. And they said after that 17th finish, they said actions speak louder than words. That was their words.
Okay, so that's my question to you, and I'm sure you've pondered this, yeah?
Yeah.
First of all, amazing what your owners are doing. Like, I ain't heard of that. That's incredible stuff. That's something new, right? Second of all, that's crazy. So I can't even get over it. If Newcastle owners pulled a stunt like that, sports washing, you're not allowed. I'm like, all right, well, okay, whatever. Like, I'm sure our owners got some art collections. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we've got. I'm sure.
Well, when I see Chelsea was selling their selves to themselves, I was like, yeah, all right, cool. We need to do the same. We need to get with the program.
It goes to the point that you literally just said, which is you finished 17th twice. You're just about avoided relegation. This isn't just Tottenham. This is in life in general. This is even part of the work, like even the career, the job that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Part of what I do is like I feel like people don't respond unless something dramatic happens, which has a good and a bad. The good is, okay, you've responded well to something dramatic.
You sound like a loan shark, bro. You sound like a loan shark.
No. I work with people. And it's good that you responded to something bad happening, because the worst thing you can do is like not respond and just think it's okay, right? So you've responded and you've responded properly. Like you've put lots of money injections. You've gone hard into the transfer window. Yeah. The bad, or you can't say really bad, because you've got to. Well, the bad is you're doing it now rather than why didn't you do this when Tottenham were like at the top, at the precipice. But fine, that's
we had a certain. I'm joking.
Right, you had it. It's okay. So it might be down to the chairman, but that maybe answers part of my question to you is: are you expecting, or are you hoping that? It doesn't necessarily have to be about money necessarily, but at least these type of movements and these type of strides forward, Tottenham will continue to act like this.
Well, this is my hope, that this is not a one-season wonder. Like because they said the reason why they didn't spend in January was because they wanted to focus on the summer and bring quality in, and they didn't want to do any panic buys. And so, they wanted to use the whole funds, because they knew that if they spent in January, like you're saying, explaining that slide that you just showed there, that could impact the summer. So I think that was their thinking. Summer, they're going to go all out, and that's where they're going to act according. But yeah, my hope is that we do that. And like you were saying before, there are players that we're going to need to sell. We're going to need to sacrifice a few players. I think you've got Romero is going to be the biggest one. He's obviously, we've got quite a few centre backs in that department.
Are you expecting him to leave?
So I'm expecting Romero to leave. So Christian Romero, I think he will go. He had a pop at the boards in January and then had a suspension for like 4 or 5 games.
That January, everybody went off. I think it started off with Amorim. Romero, like everybody, Glasner. Glasner's the only one where the Palace said, say what you want, we don't give a
So like, hey. But literally, he kicked off, and then I think he fell out of love. Like, he's been flirting before he signed a new contract that he wanted to go with Atletico. I think Atletico wanted to put a bid in. Simeone is a big admirer. So yeah, literally, Romero could be one. Another guy is obviously Vuskovic. We're probably going to talk about that. And a lot of fans aren't happy with that one because he seems to be like the future. Then you've got Papa Matasar, who's been at the club for over 3 years, which it doesn't feel like it, but yeah, he's been here he's one of our longest servers.
That's crazy.
I know, and he's
I
so
still
young.
look at him as a baby.
So do I.
Look at him as a baby.
So do
That's
I. And so I think people are looking at it now. Yeah, it's time to sell because you're coming into your 4th, 5th year, and yeah, we need a bit more. And obviously, I think Gallagher, when we bought Gallagher in January, I thought that was a panic buy personally. I know they said they didn't want to panic in January, but I think Gallagher was a panic buy because that's forced for me Sarr at the door, because essentially they're doing pretty much the same thing profile-wise in terms of ball carrying, covering ground, defensive attributes. I'd say that obviously Gallagher's got more experience than them. But if we're looking at the stats side by side, and Gallagher didn't have a great season when he did come in January, Pat Passar's got 4 goals and 2 assists, whereas Gallagher's got 1 goal and 1 assist, and he's played more games than Pat Passar. And obviously Pat Passar's younger, so he's got a higher ceiling. But Gallagher is the experienced one. I think that's the reason why they brought him in, because they needed like a guy with leadership skills, etc. Blah blah blah. Anyway, I digress. By the way, Gallagher for me, I would sell. I would. If you're going to get a Tonali in and you're looking for one other midfielder, I think he could be someone that could move on to maybe like an Everton or even an Aston Villa, because I heard Emery was a big fan of Gallagher. But we got a few wingers that could be sold as well. There's a few players that we could move on in the wide areas. Solomon's a player that played for Fiorentina last season. He's on our books. So he's an Israeli international, but there's a whole political thing going on there. So a few of the players don't get all of it in the camp. Some of them are Muslim in it, and so it's a bit mad.
It's a bit mad, and you're right. Gallagher and Sarr, just looking at this, obviously not same, but there's similarities in what they're doing. Obviously, they're both in terms of possession one, they're kind of into that area, but they're not necessarily elite. Sarr a little bit more into the very good possession 180 percentiles here, and 4 passes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I just think Tonali is a number 8. Yeah, for example, and like these guys are 6/8/10s. They've played all those.
Tonali. Tonali's in the green here.
Yeah, but there you go, right? So I could easily get rid of those 2, and Tonali replaces them, and I could get a fee for Gallagher. I'd sell him for like 20 to 30 million. I really would, and I'll do the same for Pap Sarr, 20 to 30 million as well, and that's 60 million right there. Do you know what I mean? And Gallagher's on. The reason why I'd sell Gallagher is because of the wages as well. I think his wages is over 200 grand. He's like one of our top earners. So yeah, I personally would reduce the fee from having that. I don't think Bergvall or Sarr's got much money to really affect the headroom. But again, this is places in the squad. I just would loan one of them out if I'm going to bring in another midfielder, in my opinion.
Are there any takers for Sarr, Gallagher?
Brentford apparently looking at Sarr. Brentford in the Premier League. Because they play that direct type of style of football, he can suit that style, that system very much. And Brentford, they use a similar model to Brighton in terms of data-led approach. So
I wonder how he'd feel about that, going from Tottenham to Brentford.
Listen, I think in every footballer's career, if they want more game time or they want to, he might see
it. Get it how you live.
Yeah, this is it. He's young enough to. He's not like he's Tonali's age and then he's got like maybe 2 moves left in him. I think he could do a Brentford and then get another move after. So,
and it's down to go up.
Well. Yeah, pretty much. I think he's in London as well, so it could work. It could be a possibility. But yeah, that's
Makes
the
sense.
team that I know that's interested. But I don't know who else, what other teams are looking at him.
James says no one's going to buy Gallagher for the wages of 200k.
That's the only issue, right? You'd have to drop down his wages. Like if he was going to an Everton, for example. So
I see him staying. I think you
I
just
do
need
see him staying. But I'm just saying what I would do. You know, that's
what you'd
why
like to do. Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's going to stay. I think he will stay. I don't know. Like I just feel, and I know we'll go back into Tonali. I just think in that midfield, I don't think Tonali does this. Like there's a lot of time where there's teams that do the 4-4-2 block, and the two strikers. Sometimes they will press the defenders, and sometimes they'll do a mid block where they leave the defenders alone. And it's like two, and then there's another set of two midfielders behind the two strikers, creating a box. And midfielders, we don't have anyone that's happy to live inside that space and receive the ball under pressure. First touch, receive, and turn. We don't have a player like that. I don't necessarily think Tonali is that guy that's going to do that. But Gallagher is definitely not that guy. Another SR. Do you know what I mean? And Tonali is still a step up on those guys. Do you know what I mean? So that's the type of profile I think what De Zerbi needs is someone that can be that ball pass. You know what I mean? Someone that can bounce the ball, and then that third pass goes forward, and that's the runner happens, and then that's how we kind of get out of that block.
I hear it. Well, that's the financial stuff. I thought we were going to breeze through it, but once it starts saying you're selling paintings and that, I was like, I was intrigued.
You want to know more, right?
Yeah, I'm like, this is by any means necessary. I don't know what the De Zerbi magic has got people selling their selling their house, signing their contracts, not leaving. Like someone's Van der Ven's dad is happy. Like I don't know what De Zerbi's doing there, but it's working. It's absolutely
the injection,
working.
Bro, he's like this.
It's the injection. Goodness gracious!
Survival will do that to you, bro.
Well, I know. Sometimes even dying and then coming back could do that too.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to, isn't it? Sometimes you need to have a near-death experience, bro.
Exactly. So let's get into your team. Let's get into your actual squad now. I've broken it down this way, and I have to say this, Ash. So coming up, I've did Villa and Man United so far, and the structure has always been looking at the minutes, then looking at the individual quality by position. So fullbacks, centre backs. So you're going to see a lot of averaged out percentiles rather than B percentiles for individual percentiles. So if you average them out, how good is their midfield? How good is their fullbacks? How good are their centre backs? Right? Which typically go a little bit lower than the individual percentile, if that makes sense, because you might have someone that's 90 percentile ball winning, and then someone at 20 percentile for creativity, for instance. So it averages out. That's what I mean. So minutes, quality. And I tend to put them, then I can try and do my best to put them together and just kind of test how resilient that squad is over obviously the season that's just gone by, to kind of give us a clue where the gaps are, what that team needs to do, how good really is that team, right? But what I had to do for Tottenham, I had to make I had to add two new sections for Tottenham because I don't think, and maybe it's the shows I've watched, but I don't think people truly understand how bad your injury crisis was. I had to, like I said, I couldn't follow the same structure of what I wanted to do because I felt like judging your squad or assessing your squad, I couldn't look past the players and everything else that was missing. I've looked at Villa, I looked at Man United. Man United had a holiday this season, right? 40 games. Everyone was like,
3 weeks off. Literally, they had like during the season. No games.
It was cruising. Obviously, Villa went to the finals and everything else, but they were fairly good with injuries, right?
Yeah.
Your squad took the absolute liberty. So I want to kick off with the injuries first, because it's going to interweave into all the other, because it does affect your quality. Your
Yeah.
availability literally affects your quality, and I'm obviously I'm giving the skeleton to it. You'll be able to add more significantly the minutes, and because those injuries were so significant, I almost had to I kind of included people that were like 4 weeks and above out, or 8 weeks and above out. There's still little bits of 2-3 weeks out that kind of add together with the ultimate stuff that are out there. So this doesn't even do it justice fully. But for instance, from game week 1 to game week 19, and these are long-term injuries, obviously, James Maddison and Kulusevski. Kulusevski got a knee missing or something like that. James Maddison, ACL. Dominic Solanke, Radu Dragishin, right? So 4 senior absences already there. So your attack and your defense is disrupted. From game week 21 to game week 31, 12 senior absences, right? The players that are unavailable, for the folks that are watching, maybe the folks that are on audio, this includes Christian Romero, Kevin Danso, Testenio Dogu, Bentaker, Kulusevski, Madison, Bergval, Basuma, Kudos, Odobert, Ben Davis, right? This is from game weeks 21 to game weeks 31. Oh, excuse me, Richarlison as well, sorry. And then even in the final weeks, when you guys were, it was do or die when it came to relegation stuff, yeah? I had Tottenham channels asking me to do videos for them. Oh, we're going to stay up. Like I was the oracle. And yes, like, yeah, sure. And it worked out. So
we needed help. The hope was,
so from game week 32 to game week 38, you still had 8 senior players out, which includes your goalkeeper, number 1 goalkeeper, Vicario, Christian Romero, your number 1 defender, Star, Simmons, who was your main creative outlet. Obviously, James Maddison continues to be out. Kulu continued to be out. Kudos came back and then got injured again, just left again. And obviously Ben Davis, right? So I don't know if you make it 8 senior absence, but he was out, right? In combination, right? That's 28 players out across 3 periods, right? If you put it all together, I know you got and again, this watching channels and everybody else, Tottenham got fanatically bantered for finishing 17th. But going away from this, I just can't help but feel that it's not because of Tottenham as a team, the quality of the team, but it's the lack of availability that you've had. I mean, what's your overall thoughts on seeing this? But not maybe seeing it visually and like, what's your kind of? Does it reinforce what you were thinking?
So
what is it?
So basically, we had a similar situation last season, and I think that's where the fan base have less patience for it, because we went into the season knowing that we were going to be playing Champions League football, and we needed to plan knowing that some of these players wouldn't be back or wouldn't be involved, and we were going to pick up injuries around these times, around January. And I think even though we're getting some players back, because in January they made the mistake, the actual DOF came out and said, we're going to be getting some players back, so we don't need to spend in the January window. And the fan base were going epileptic. They were saying, is this guy okay in life? Do you know what I mean? Is there rice at home? And before you knew it, the window had shut. We hadn't got the players that we needed. We needed a right wing. We just needed wingers, full stop. And as soon as we did have, they got injured. So Kudos got injured during that time, through the window. Odobert was meant to come back, came back, got injured. Do you know what I mean? And so there was like a plethora of players just coming back, getting injured. We said this was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen because it happened the season before. So that's the reason
mm-hmm.
why we were like, there was less sympathy to say, oh my days, you know, if we didn't have all of these injuries, like to us, it was no longer an excuse. It was just poor planning, and it was on the board, it was on the club, and they're the ones that were going to get us relegated. No one else. Do you know what I mean? And so us fans, we felt hard done by that decision, by not decided to act, not decided to spend money. And their excuse was, we're going to get players coming back. And those players came back and they got re-injured.
Yes.
so it's like, yeah.
Exactly.
I think in the ordinary season, and I don't think this season was ordinary, by the way, because if you even look at Newcastle yourselves, you guys ended up where? Where did you finish? 10th, was it?
12th.
12th, sorry. You finished 12th. But, I mean, the gap between 12th and Europe was minuscule. Do you know what I mean?
3-4 points or something. Yeah.
Exactly. And so you bake that into us, maybe if we had a full strength team. You never have a full strength team, so let's get that out of the way. I'm not trying to make an excuse here, but if we had some of our senior players like your Kulusevski's fit, your Madison's fit, those are our main creators. And even like
it's a different story.
Even down to Kudos, because Kudos was a new signing and he got injured. You know what I mean? Even Jabi towards the end got injured. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He was out for a bit. He come back into the squad. He got like, you know, so when your new signings are getting injured and the ones that are the key makers, the key difference makers are injured and are out for a period of time where they cannot impact games. Those games we were losing and the goalkeeper is going through his hands, like, and we're losing by a goal. And it's not like we're getting battered like 4-1 or 5-1. We're losing by the odd goal and it's by the odd mistake here and there. And so there's a world where, all right, cool. Had we had a few of those players available, had we got a few points here and there, we could have been around 12th. We could have been around mid-table. We could have been that close off of Europe if we had a few of those players. But, you know, it's hindsight. You know, you never know. But these are all hypotheticals, bro. I could be talking absolute waffle right now because it comes down to how good do you think these players are. And a lot of the fans, some people, I remember when Madison and Kulusevski was fit, some people were like, oh, Madison needs to leave. He's not good enough. And there was a portion of fans that were like, Kulu's not good enough. You know, we need to sell him and improve on him. Do you know what I mean? So
I made an attempt, and I'll show you a little bit later, see what you thought, to kind of answer that question. So in terms of that missing quality, so hold on to that for. Because like I said, for me, and hearing what you're saying, you're right. It's 2 years in a row. This isn't the first time it happened, because it happened to us as well when we were in the Champions League the first time.
Yeah.
And our squad collapsed with injuries and we changed things around. We've got a performance director, something like that, who kind of was able to manage our injuries a lot better. It looks like you're trying to do something. You're looking at what's happening with your football pitch and everything else like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's a serious. You're right. It's a serious. What's the word they use?
We're just not built for. We're not built for like Europe, and even though we should be, because we're like we've been in.
You should be.
Exactly.
Right. How did you do it for 10 years in a row? 10 years in a row? I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. This doesn't make sense. It's just in the last 2 years we've just fallen off a cliff, and I personally think it's down to the profile of players that we brought in terms of like intensity. You know, the amount of running that's happening. I think it's just not just for our club, but I think it's across the board. That's why you're seeing a lot of injuries from like teams like Brighton. Brighton are direct as well. They do a lot of running, and they picked up just as many injuries. Maybe not as long term, but they've had lots of injuries last season. And there's other clubs as well I won't mention. But yeah, I think it's the intensity, it's the running, it's the amount of games collectively, and it's the lack of rotation from the actual coach, because the coach might favor a certain player in a certain position. He's not rotating them as much. And that, I think, overall affects the injuries. I think that's what that happens with the build-up. But ACLs have been becoming more common in the Premier League. I'm feeling like you've seen that a lot more. And I think it is to do with the congestion. Because I remember Rodri was complaining about it, and then he had his ACL. He literally was like, too many games, boom, his knee popped. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's the type
Crazy.
of league, like Pep was saying, the league's changing. It's no longer, when he came in, he tried to do the whole possession thing, got caught out. Then he bought a few midfielders a bit more physical, had more height. That changed around. But then, you know, you guys came in, and by you guys, there was like Forest as well. They had a great season, and then Bournemouth and Brighton and Brentford, they're over the top, they're direct, they run at you. Do you know what I mean? And Pep admitted that I might have to change. I might have to change the midfield. Like the Premier League's changing, and as a result of that, those teams that weren't in Europe, they benefited. They had one game a week, and they were able to push up the table. Nottingham Forest, they suffered. Like, you know, they got Europe, they couldn't handle it, they went back down. But the season before that, they were doing excellent. They had one game a week. They were able to do the whole transition thing, and they were finishing. At one point, you thought, right, could they finish in Champions League position? Because that's how close they were. Do you know what I mean? So I think the overall meta of football in the Premier League added to the amount of injuries you were seeing for like Tottenham, for example, because of the style. And obviously that was by Ange. Ange wants to play direct football. Do you know what I mean? I know it was possession based, but he was like, get the ball forward, get the ball forward.
Yeah.
He was always trying to get that ball quickly as possible. It wasn't like side to side, slow build up and then hit. It was full back, bounce pass, get forward, get into the wingers. Wingers open up the width, open up the pitch. They run down the wings, boom, boom. Brendan Johnson, back post, bang, goal.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's direct, but on the floor, like whereas other teams do direct in the air. So I think that overall affected the team and the amount of running and training. That was what caused some of the injuries, which is almost like a backlog of the season before. Do you know what I mean?
Of everything, yeah. There's a question here. I don't know if you want to answer it now, really, but Adrian says, Ash, are you confident of finishing above us next season, above us being Newcastle?
At this stage, no. Not right now. Not right now. Not right now. But ask me at the end of the window, because the reason why I'd say that is I don't know what Maddison, I know he came back and he was like a chief creator. I just don't know. I don't know how he's going to come back and how he's going to impact in the team, how the manager's going to use him, if the manager's going to use him, how he's going to set him up. That's one question mark. I'm not too sure, because when he did come back, he brought him off. I know he's coming back from an injury, but he brought him on like 20 minutes here. First was 5 minutes, first 10 minutes, like you should do from any injury. I just don't know how the Zerbi sees Maddison. I don't know what his plans are for Maddison. I like Maddison. I think he's a great footballer. I think he's the most creative player at Tottenham at the moment. But I just don't know what role or what capacity he's going to use Maddison in the future. And then Kulusevski's coming back from an injury. He's shown lots of clips of him running. He's playing basketball the other day. You know, basketball's stop-start after an knee injury is quite scary to see all that. But he seems comfortable. He seems confident. I don't know what version of Kulusevski I'm going to get, because he's a very stop-start player. And stop-start, that's what jars your knee. That's what, like, your knee is like a brake. Do you understand? So when you're stop-starting, and that's his style, to kind of create space, he does that. He uses his body feints. He's quite physical with it. How much is that going to come back? How much mobility? Are we going to use him in the same way? Are we replacing as well? Because apparently we're in for two wingers. So there's a whole creative kind of situation that's got a big question mark for me. We don't have a striker. Obviously, we've got Solanke and Richarlison at the moment, but the rumours are Richarlison is more likely to leave. And so I don't know what forward we're bringing in to replace Richarlison if he is to go. So then there's so many gaps in my information and my knowledge. It's hard for me to say, yes, we're definitely finishing above Newcastle.
I don't know what Newcastle are going to do. Like,
as well. Sorry.
Say that again, sorry?
I'm going to say we don't have a goalkeeper as well. We've got Kingsley, final 7 games or 8 games. He improved, but again, I just don't know how that is such a small window that I've seen Kingsley. And I know he had a little window before when he first came. But again, it was up and down. I don't know if it was just a purple patch or if this is his level, or can he go up a level?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of fans think we need a main keeper and he's going to become number 2 again. as opposed to the number one starting spot. A lot of fans do like him because he did finish well, but for me, it's too much of a small sample size to say give Keith Kingsley the number one role.
And plus, you don't know what Newcastle are going to do in the other leg.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
who's the Zugan again?
As it
So
stands,
let's get.
I don't think Newcastle above us, I think. But go on.
No, giving you one of our midfield. What's going on here? Like, no, I think.
Well, I haven't got him yet. I ain't got him yet.
I think even if he's standing in front of Spurs Stadium with the scarf, there'll be still people saying, "Nah, I don't believe it." To this, and like,
I think we can get him, but we ain't got him yet.
Okay.
So, do you understand what?
Yeah,
see what I'm saying? I'm not in fear. I'm like, oh my days, like Gibbs White, oh Eze,
right.
Be hurt again. I'm ready to be hurt again, bro. I'm literally, but I like he's not there yet, so I can't. I'll be like on what's the word?
So you're not taking it for granted, like you're not kind of like.
Yeah, I'm not taking it for granted. I'm not celebrating too early. I'm somewhere in the middle.
I hear it. So that's the minutes and that's the injuries. So yeah, this is the. So I went to the injuries first. So we spoke a bit about the minutes, but you used 24 players. Your squad is fairly young, actually. I don't know if it's one of the youngest, but it's 25.9 years, which is really. That's we're the second or third order, so we're trying to get to those levels. You played 50,000 minutes altogether this season. I think Villa played about 54, 55,000, something along those lines.
Okay.
United played like 40,000 minutes. You had 9 core players. What typically when I use minutes and why I can't use it for Tottenham is so, especially previously last year, I use minutes as an indicator to let me know of who the core players are in that team.
Yes,
because Tottenham's
I struggle myself. I struggle myself.
Right. Because you've got so many injuries, I couldn't do that. But
I'll tell you who the start 11 was for 25-26 season.
Okay, exactly. And so, of course, when are you going to see your best starting 11? That's the key question as well. But you've got, what I was going to say, let me just see. You're going to say something?
No, I was going to say, no, this is it. This is why the Zerbi is trying to get things done. Like, this is day 3 now. Well, day 2, sorry. It's still day 2. Day 3 in a few minutes. But, yeah, I think that's the reason why we're trying to get things done early. Typically, in the past, we waited a bit longer.
Yeah, and Tonali's not in the World Cup.
Yeah, Tonali's not in the World Cup. Senesi's just gone to the World Cup.
Van Hecke
because
as well.
of the injury. Van Hecke is there. But, there's just 1 or 2 players that, Madison's not going to be the World Cup, like you said, Kulusevski. So there might be like a little chance that we get like a pre-season where we get a few players together, they build up their fitness, and we could start, the Zerbi get to see, all right, I like this player works here. Okay, cool. I see Kulu's a bit fitter than I thought he would be. I see him more as a midfielder than a right winger. Kudos might be fit by then. He might get a bit of preseason. I don't know. I'm just saying, throwing it out there. I don't actually know if Kudos will be fit for preseason. But for example, there's a few players that aren't going to the World Cup that could feature that he could have a look at. And if we sign a few players that aren't going to the World Cup, he could get them in early, and then we could start to see the core basis, and we can start to see a little bit of the shape, or he can, and then he will know like whose best team is.
Right. You had 9 core players. What's interesting is that Mickey van der Ven is the man who accumulated the most minutes for you this season. Mr. Hamstring didn't have any hamstrings this season. There's 3,943 minutes, which is really, 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 really good.
Is that because he couldn't vote to run? Or he's like, forget Tottenham.
Say that again?
Is that because he was like, you know what, bun Tottenham, I ain't sprinting for them. No, I ain't risking my hamstring. cynical.
I don't blame you. To be cynical.
Because there was one point in the season that I was watching it and I was like, this guy's checked out, man. He's not on it. He is not on it. But then, like I said, when the Zerbi came back, when the Zerbi got into him, I thought, he's back now. He's back. But
yeah. Yeah,
I was
9 core
surprised though, to
starters.
see that metric, to see those amount of minutes. I was surprised that he had the most minutes, and then I think it's Pedro Porro after him.
It
Pedro Porro.
is probably Porro. Yeah, Mickey Van der Ven. What's Porro on? I can't see. I can't find Porro. He's somewhere. Where's it? The fullbacks. Porro. Yeah, three. Oh yeah, very close. He's on three. Porro's on 3,923. Van der Ven's on 3,943. So 20 minutes more. Yeah, Porro's there. Vicario, Jed Spence, who claims to be faster than Anthony Gordon, and Jed Spence. I don't know if you saw the video clip of him today, like say claiming he's the fastest man in England, in the England team. I was like, okay.
Apparently, he's faster than Randall. That's what they're saying. Black man,
they said that. They said that is it geniuses or successful people are the most delusional ones, and maybe that's what they're aiming for. But Simmons, Rodrigo, Bentancur. Typically, what I say to people is that you would want your core, any team. So this is when I say core starters, these are players that played above 2,500 minutes. It depends how people want to do it. Someone might want to say 3,000 minutes and more. It depends. But I said 2,500 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Typically, you would want your core starters to be over 11. So 11, 12, or 13, which would show that you've got at least an indicator that you've got quality of players that you can spread the minutes around even more than your first starting 11, which you kind of typically want. So say for instance, you've got 4 core starters, 4 people that play the majority of your minutes. It's like, you're what if, you're risking injury? Do you have the quality to spread it around? Again, it's different for Tottenham because your injuries were so significant.
Yeah.
Your midfield depth they're the ones that had the most minutes combined, but typically I think that's where you got the most midfielders anyway. You got tons there. So I think that's where your biggest depth was. I imagine some of your midfielders had to fill in other positions, like in defensive areas, maybe at times, and attacking areas as well.
Because I think what it is like the combinations, because you want to get used to rhythm, you want to get used to each other and create relationships, form partnerships on the pitch. And like, okay, this player likes it to feet. This player likes it to his weaker foot, and then he likes to pass with his stronger foot. Do you know what I mean? So small little details you start to learn about your player partner in crime. But if you're not playing in that position all the time with them, and it's just constantly changing, then there's going to be consistency, and you're having to learn about your new teammates. You're having to cover different faults because everyone's got weaknesses. That's the whole point of a double pivot. You've got the best of both, innit? You've got one that defends, one that attacks, and then you take turns. But one might be more natural at, receiving the ball on a turn through pressure. One might be able to knock it back first time. One might want to take a touch and set himself. So you might have to put less tax on that ball, less, punch it less to him. So different little nuances that you start to realize about your teammate. And then, like, again, Archie Gray and Bova, they're quite young. And so they're being coached at the same time. So you're having to coach and play your own game. But then they might not even have the teacher there because the teacher might be injured. Like Bentancur was out for quite a few games. Right. So, and he's like, in our archetype of midfielders, and in terms of profile, he's basically our conductor. He's the one that's more of our tempo center. He's the one that is the most press resistant out of all the midfielders. Do you see what I'm saying? And if he's missing, and Basuma's missing, who's probably one of our other technical midfielders, then you've got a big hole there. Do you know what I mean? Players that like to play it short, connect the dots, you know what I mean? Keep the ball ticking, know when to pass a bit fast, slow it down a little bit. Those are the 2 players that we have that are suited to that role a bit more. I'm not saying they do it to a high level, but that's their kind of profile. That's their role. Do you know what I mean? And then when you're missing that profile in the team and everyone's quite similar, kind of box to box, likes to carry it, wants to take about 2 or 3 touches before they pass, or they got their head down, they're not really scanning what's, running with the ball. Decision making is a little bit off because, maybe they're young, they don't have the amount of minutes, or that's just not their game. It's just a whole heap of different factors that makes your midfield not fluid. Do you know what I mean?
Not fluid, not coherent.
Exactly.
A lot of spinning plates there. All right. So I gave my attempt in terms of percentile. And I want to remind folks, you would have seen me. So you see me like show the radars earlier from Data MB, right? And what I done was, do I have it in my next section? Maybe I do. Yeah. So what I done was basically what this is this. So for instance, this is all of Tottenham's midfielders that were available, or at least played a significant amount of minutes. Bentancur, Paulinho, Gray, Bergvall, Gallagher, Sarr, Simmons. I did it for the other section, so fullback.
Look how there's no ball progression. There's no progression.
Say that again. There's no ball progression.
Zero.
There's no, like, amongst the like 6-7 players you got, there's literally no ball progression, which is crazy, right? So I can't. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just saying carrying's the like.
Yeah, your main carrier is Simmons. So imagine if when Simmons is out, who's your key passer? He's always the passer that lead to shots. Carrying, if he's out, you've perhaps got Sarr, but it's not the same as Simmons, for instance. So when you're looking at when you're going to see the average percentiles, you're going to see what's the average for these particular that particular department, rather for individuals, right? If that makes sense. And so that I think is the best way I could think of trying to test the quality of a team. And usually I've combined the quality of the team with the minutes to then show how that blends together, how resilient that squad is to injuries and minutes. Again, with Tottenham, it's a whole different other thing. I want to add as well, because of Data MB looks at only the league minutes, and also if you've played less than 1,000 minutes, they don't do the metrics on you. So there'll be some players on here that won't be involved, and obviously, but then also some players for long-term injury won't be involved. Your Madisons and Kulusevski. So I wanted to kind of show, and that's why the later sections I try my best. This is my attempt of showing the quality that Tottenham were missing. And for the folks that are watching, when we were talking about the percentiles, right? If you're a 70 plus percentile, you're a genuine Champions League caliber unit, right? Anything from 50 to 69 percentile, you're a competitive Premier League level. If you're 40 to 49 percentile, you're mid-table quality. And if you're below 40 percentile, as there is a section, that is you have significant weaknesses, right? So just from the jump, obviously, the overall quality is a 50 percentile team. And before we get in, which is just on the cusp of a competitive Premier League level team, stroke mid table quality team. From the year that's just happened, obviously 25-26 season, from the jump, do you feel that's fairly accurate? Obviously, I know you finished 17th. Okay, 100%. Right. Okay.
100%. I agree with every metric here. I think.
Really?
Yeah. If you look at the forwards, 44 percentile. So, like you were saying, between 30 and 40, I think that's accurate for the strikers. I think Richarlison, he managed around 11 goals this season. But again, like everything outside of his goals was incomplete. First touch, link play, passing, hold up play, trying to get the team up the pitch. Anything you measure a striker on, like volume of shots, movement off the ball, running in behind, all of these things were for me either average or below, in my opinion, for Richarlison. Even though he came on and he scored 11 goals, where he was good is because he's had right place more time. He was in the right place, right time, but his execution was more like a 1 in 3 rather than a 1 in 2. Obviously, that would take you up another level. But like I said, outside of the finishing, his movement overall wasn't impressive for me. And that's what I mean, running in behind, having that intelligence, knowing what shot selection to use as well, pressurized shots as well. I'll take that into consideration. How is he in pressurized moments when he's got a shot, when he's got a finish? Is he creating chances for others through his movement? These type of things there. And this is our top goal scorer. Solanke.
Right.
Bravery, non-existent. Aggression, non-existent. speed, power, non-existent.
Wow.
Great at linking up the play, but doesn't have the speed and the power and tenacity or the personality to get on the end of things, to arrive in the box, to be a bit like what you're having with Voltemada, very good in the build-up, but not on the end of things where you need your striker to be, not in those dangerous zones. And so when you compare, when
I
you
need
have
to
the two,
I need to clip that for my audience, so because I've been saying that. But thank you for that.
yeah,
I've
I'll
been
clip it.
fighting a good fight. I've been fighting a good fight for this.
But it's just, but that's down to the manager, how he platforms the players as well. So I think that's a
Yes.
combination. Players around him, are they creating chances for them? And if your forward's not in the box, that should have room for the other players to enter the box. Are they scoring? Are they contributing? So that leads me on to the midfielders. Midfielders are 38 percentile. This is what I definitely agree with. This is below the standard what we need. And we spoke about the
Wow.
the one dimension of our midfield in terms of ball carrying. That's basically what they do. Not what they're necessarily good at, but it's what they do. This is their main thing. Because even when Xavi Simons was carrying, I don't think he was carry resistant, meaning
Right.
when you're carrying the ball, can you ride challenges? Pause. If you can have that physicality to that players to bounce off, like when you
Yeah.
see Morgan Rogers, he's not particularly
Oh
fast,
yeah.
but enough about him that players would try to tackle him and he can shield the ball, or he's got speed of thought and speed of foot movement to combine to know where to move the ball and carry and dribble, be intricate
Yeah.
to get up the pitch, and knowing when to do it, because there's a time to know when to carry as well and to know your ability as well. Do you understand? And players running off other players. So there's be times when players are carrying the ball and you need midfielders or wide players to run off those players to create chances or to create spaces or to open up passing lanes. That never really happened when, for example, Xavi Simons was on the ball. There was no one running off him. Then the opposite. There's no one coming in. There's no one running short, creating an angle. There's no one supporting under. There's no one trying to slow it down. There's no one asking for it, saying, and there's a lot of players going and hiding because their confidence was shot. So I think in terms of the passing's another metric. I'll be here all day, because I remember I talked about first time passing, pressurized passing, inside passing, switches of play, balls over the top. There's so many that go into your final third passing or your progressive passing that I haven't even mentioned. Do you know what I mean? Even down to crossing. If you look at the wide players now, if I move to Kudos was our most successful player in the wide areas, and he was injured for half the season. But a lot of those creativity that he had was through crosses, and a lot of the crosses were blocked. You're crossing into a 6-yard box full of 6-foot defenders. Make that make sense. Cutbacks being predictable. His stronger foot is his left foot. He's going to want to cut back onto his left. So there's so many things that you're seeing. Everybody knows that our strongest side is that right-hand side because Porro and Kudos live there, and they're our most creative players. So what do teams do? They force us down the left. They force us down the left to make that mistake, and that's when we lose the ball, and then we get the turnovers. That's why we're terrible at playing out from the back. So again, it's down to platforming, it's down to profiling, it's down to the availability of the players in the squad, and that dictates the way we play and what we do and how the players naturally play. They're going to naturally want to pass to the best players on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, look, everyone's got data analysis right now. They've got video analysis. We're doing it right now. And so you can figure out, okay, cool. What Spurs are going to do? They play out from the back. They're going to play it in to Mickey Van der Ven. Van der Ven's going to pass it back to Vicario, who will pass it to Porro. Porro will try to spam it down to Kudos. Kudos will come short for it. But what we'll do is we'll have one man tight to him and one man slightly about 5 yards back. So if he does beat the first man, then we double up on them and win the ball that way. Do you know what I mean? If he comes inside, then we've got another trap there. Do you know what I mean? So there was just so many triggers that they used to use Kudos as a trigger or Porro as a trigger to kind of, or even the inside midfielder as a trigger to kind of all right, cool, now we press. Do you get it? And we were so void of any ideas or any structure, in my opinion. And some people will blame the players. Some people will blame the manager. I blame both. And I blame the manager slightly more because he was the one that had the summer window. He was the one that, again, for me, the coach prioritizes where he thinks needs the most work. And so he would have sat down with the team and say, look, I think Spurs are lacking here. This is the number one area. This is the first sign we need to make. De Zerbi's done it already. He's done his centre backs. He said, look, if you're going to play the De Zerbi ball, I need my centre backs to be able to control, dictate, and move the ball in a certain way. And so he said, look, I need centre backs. I need my centre back specifically. Do you know what I mean?
I'm just you summed up really well. And there's two things really, because maybe wouldn't have been possible with Tottenham because your injuries are severe. Because I can't remember what the overall percentile for Man United and Villa were, for instance, but they all had, no matter what, they weren't too far off you. Hence why I think even us, and hence why the table was so close together. But in both cases, for instance, Villa had Ollie Watkins and Morgan Rogers, the ones that can make the difference in terms of goal scoring and everything else. Man United obviously had the trio of Šeško, obviously Bruno Fernandes, assist record break, and everybody else. And so they could still pull the team out of trouble with all those things. Whereas you, like you're saying about Kudus and Porro, became one-dimensional to the point where people were able to set triggers against you.
Yeah.
Hit you on the counter-attack on a already midfield that's not coherent in what they're doing because they're still getting to know each other on and off the ball.
Yep.
So all of that, if you combine all of that game after game, and you're playing lots of games, you play tons of games as well, injuries on top of that, it's hard to even rectify those problems. But it's almost like you said, it was set from the beginning when the manager didn't prioritize the right things. Thankfully, De Zerbi, who has such a very strong vision about how he wants to play, like he knows what he wants to do, right? Very strong personality and strong. Like I said, I want to see Jed Spence pull that stunt that he did against to Thomas Frank. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He's going to see something different. And because he's got such a strong vision for how he wants to play, he knows straight away what he wants in the market. And that's why I think how you've moved in the market is a representation of his personality. He knew exactly who he wanted when because he knows what he wants them for. Me and you're talking, we can see why he wants a Van Hecke. We know there's flaws of Van Hecke, but we know why he wants Van Hecke. And Tonali, for instance. I think the other thing, I maybe self-congratulatory, I don't know, but I'm quite pleased that you said all of this makes sense, because when I put it together, I thought, man, you're just blowing in the wind here. You don't know what's going to happen here. Like, Jesus, is it going to make sense? I'm doing it, but it, like, hearing it back, because I've had a chance to kind of do it with like other fans just yet. I did Villa and then Man United. I thought, is this actually possible? But it's from what you said, it's like, yeah, this, because I thought your midfield percentile can't be that low. But you're and the way you explained it,
the biggest, I think, for every Tottenham fan, our biggest area that we need to improve is the midfield. I think that's why people are so passionate on the Tonali subject. There's a big portion of the fans saying Tonali, they're not saying he's shit. They know he improves our team, but we need someone that's going to progress the play. We need a progressive passer. We need that to be the priority, and we need a tempo setter, kind of someone that can control the game, because that's where we lack. Bentancur gets injured, we're back to square one. And Bentancur, again, he's not the level. We want a level above Bentancur, basically. Someone that can, again, put his foot on the ball, slow it down, and then know when to speed it up. What do I mean by that? Know when to play short passes. Okay, short passes are slowing it down, but then you can speed up the tempo by punching through the lines. You can hit through balls, you can pass and break lines, know when to do that. I think Tonali is, for me, like a secondary creator, if that makes sense. He's not your main deep line creator. I think that's where the concerns from some Spurs fans are coming, and are like, oh, other fans are annoyed because they're like, we've never had it so good. This is probably one of our best ever signings. Like this is Klinsmann level. You know what I mean? This is Ginola. Ginola level. Ironic, isn't it?
It's so funny because when I was saying to people, so go on. No, I was gonna say, like, you know, when they're like best midfielders, and I'm like, yeah, Newcastle. Like, no, Chelsea, we've got this and we've got that. I'm like, no, we've got a best midfield. And it's not until these players are linked to teams. Like, I remember when Bruno and Tonali went up to Man, like, we're gonna win the league, and I'm like, oh, so now it comes out. All right, so go on.
I didn't want to do it out in public. Out in the open.
Jog says, sorry, go on.
No, that's it.
Jog says, as great as it is you taking Tonali off the market, didn't want Arteta to sign him, but you could have got Kamara. That's who I hope we get, and a volume passing midfielder for 100 million to actually fill the gaps in your midfield.
And this is the consensus, not complete consensus, but this is what a lot of fans are saying. I'd say it's a smaller minority, but I think that the argument that we're having is there's such a thing called Premier League proven. Some people are arguing against it, saying that's overrated.
It's not. I don't know. I can't believe people are arguing against it. I think that's insane.
What it is the Premier League is like you're improving your floor, and I think Spurs' floor needs to be risen a lot more. 100%. At the moment, we've got players that we talk about ceilings, but again, you just don't know if they're going to live up to that potential. You know, it's just all theory. Do you know what I mean? So we had Salah as down as a high ceiling. We didn't have him as a floor raiser. We had him as a high ceiling player that could potentially become a top midfielder with years to come. So we thought, oh, that was great business. Watch him, he's gonna flourish in a few years' time. He's gonna be a top midfielder. Then we said the same with Archie Gray and Bergvall. But then you've got like 3 players that are all ceilings, but you haven't got any floor raisers.
Right.
Unless you say Conor Gallagher is the floor raiser, which I don't think is, because he profiles too similar to the other ceiling players to be a floor raiser. And we need someone that raises the floor. And I think the issue is because, as I said before, with Tonali, I know you said he's not a 6, but I think he's a hybrid 6'8". And the reason why I think he's a hybrid 6'8" is because he has played DM for you guys before. I have seen you lot play. I think the last game you lot played is Arsenal.
So yeah, he's a hybrid 6'8" in a sense. So he's very much an 8. The 6 stuff that what you can do as a 6 is it's a gift and a curse. So he can cover the ground really, really well. He can, if you're on the attack and you want to protect your, the counter attack, he's good at stepping in between the 2 centre backs, or if you want him on the right side, the left side, very, very good at that in terms of coming across and being aggressive. The curse is he isn't always very good at understanding he leaves space behind. And so that can lead... it can step up too quickly, or sometimes the angles are a bit wrong in terms of how he does it, right?
Yeah.
He's not also a 6 really on the ball in terms of coming out of the press back to goal. Can he do it to a good level or a standard? Yeah. Can he do it to a Bruno Gomes, Kobe Mainu? Think of anyone with their back to goal type of standard. And
you could say the same with Rice. Rice, again, he's a 6, but he can't do the first fade. He needs like the fullback to invert to help him.
Exactly.
Or, like he needs to.
But that's what Van der Ven is for.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's a bit of a gift and a curse with him.
So the point I was making a point.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
No, it's cool. But I was just basically saying, like, because I know, like, he's not really going to dictate tempo like that as a 6/8, because he's not really because when you say 6, that means you're a specialist. That's what you do. You can sit at the base of the midfield and progress the ball from your fullback or your centre back, meaning that he can do it through passing through the lines from deep, or like for me, Tonali, he's got passing range, but He's more of like, if he's in space, he's going to switch the play. He's good at switching the play. He's that type of kind of midfielder. He can punch through the line, but he's not a volume passer like that.
No.
So he's not a person that, I think that's more Grimaris. Grimaris is, obviously you've utilized him higher up as a number 8, but when it comes to passing, he's the volume passer compared to Tonali. Tonali is all action, energy, ball carrying, as you said before, transition, win that ball back. 1v1 defending could be better. Heading, I think, is a bit weak. So when it comes to aerial challenges, that's something. And for a number 6, if you want to protect your centre backs, or if the goalkeeper needs to kick it, long, Tonali's not your guy. Do you know what I mean? To like win that ball back down into the pitch, or that's not his really game. That's why I say he's not a 6 like that. He's not a specialist 6. He's a 6/8 where he's a, box to box more kind of threat. And then equally, he's not an advanced 8 or a 10 like what Grimaris is more of an advanced 8 than him, because in terms of like finishing, like if it's off the cuff, if it's instinctive, Tonali's your guy. But I think if he's got more time to think about it, then his finishing isn't as great. And he's not a volume shooter as well. He doesn't break the box enough to kind of be that kind of advanced 8, in my opinion. Not to say, if the manager said to him, like, give him a different instruction, maybe you could be. But I just think under Howe, he hasn't done a lot of box crashing. Essentially.
No. That's exactly. I think, like I said, I think it's more about how he profiles next to the midfielders you've already got. Maybe Morgan Gibbs White makes sense. I think if Maddison comes back to be a little bit more close to what he does, it makes a little bit more sense. But you're right.
I think he has aggressive midfielders. I honestly do. I'm trying to think back to these Brighton days, and they had McAllister. Obviously, he's lost his legs now, but he was an Argentinian. He was quite aggressive, but very technical.
I think Casado was there when De Zerbi was there, right?
Casado was there, yeah. Casado, Balebo was there, definitely. Grosh, I know Grosh, he played multiple roles. He was like the brain, I think, behind it all.
Yeah.
Like his midfielders, he doesn't really play with a lone 6. He's always played with like maybe 2 midfielders, even Casado.
Exactly.
But he always played with
the pivots. The pivots, yeah.
And the pivot essentially they do everything. They do both. They attack and they defend. And that asks to like be in different positions. He wants a bit of fluidity in the midfield. So maybe that's where he sees Tonali being a bit more fluid than the other players, a bit more aggressive in the press, physical up and down. And maybe like he understands tactically like what he wants, because Italy, they're very tactical and they're taught from young as well. Like they've got the whole term of Matsala.
And he can speak to him. He can speak to him in the language that he understands, quite literally, in terms of what he wants.
He could coach him better as well. So he could coach him to bring him up a level, because he's been known to like coach older players and get the best out of them. I remember it was Kevin Prince Jr. was in his 30s at Sassuolo, and he said he improved him he was in 32 or something, and he said he was still teaching him. He said I was still like, I think was it Sagna, was that, what club was it? An Italian club, I forget the name. And he said he went over there and De Zerbi was teaching him. Even one of our guys, Sandro, ex-Spurs player, said he went to De Zerbi. De Zerbi is teaching him, even though like he was in his 30s. Still like, and that's why he likes the older guys, because they got the experience. They understand the pressure, but he can still get the same or more out of them like he would do out of a youth player. Do you know what I mean? And he had one player, Hinshelwood, at Brighton, but he didn't have like, he wasn't known to like coach several young players. I know he had a Dingro who was quite young, Hinshelwood, and Enciso. Enciso, yeah. I know he had him, so he had quite a few young ones, but the majority of his squad were like mid to that kind of mid-range. You know what I mean? Mid to older.
Adrian says the red flag for me was Tonali's missus going to London to have their baby. Lack of faith in the bracing air of the Northeast.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Jeez Louise. Warble Jokes says, Phil, the league meta is actually going in a direction that favors the Tonalis, Rices, Casados, Andersons, and less so the Whartons, McAllisters, because the man-to-man marking and high hip turnover tactics.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I generally agree. But for instance, I suspect, for instance, from Newcastle's point of view, who are famed for that man-to-man press and everything else. I mean, to the point where Jay calls us a rugby team. Where I suspect that we're trying to evolve the team actually to go not necessarily to get your Waters and McAllisters, but to be a little bit more
Possession based.
technical and possession based. Because especially if you want to handle Europe and everything else, you need that to your element of what you're doing.
Well, you're not in Europe this season, so I guess.
Say again?
You're not in Europe this season, so I guess you could go back to.
No, exactly. But we can do, but we want to get into Europe and stay in Europe. We want to develop that style, if that makes sense. We've been wanting that style for a while, and it's a time for us to kind of develop it. What has Prem proven the loan is 50% of the guarantee of a successful signing? Genuinely can't believe people don't see that. No, I agree. Phil, I disagree. Phil, I disagree. Adrian Tonali couldn't have his child on the wall. He can't bring a baby. Oh, he's a madman. Jeez Louise. Right, so coming to the final parts, and thanks, Ash, as always, staying on late with me. So I made an attempt to try and capture the quality that was missing from Tottenham and kind of explain where our things were lying. And the main parts, and you kind of mentioned already throughout the show, was the creative players were missing. Your Madisons. So I use is you're going to see minutes missing, which is not accurate for this season. Because Madison didn't play in this season, I had to use the minutes from the previous season, if that makes sense. I had to use the data from the previous season. Same for Kulu. Same for Madison and Kulu. So those are the percentiles from there. And the main points, obviously, they're missing their key passes and their dribbles. For Kulu, also obviously for this season, you only had really Mohamed Kudus for half the season, technically, really. Missing his ability on the ball, his carries, and obviously you had Simmons. But like you mentioned, in terms of his carry, so what the main thing that this group provides is your key passes, assists, ball carrying, and dribbling. Midfielders that were missing, or at least large proportion of your season. Basuma, jeez Louise, his duel winning and his possession one. Bentancur, we spoke about him in terms of what he provides, the control that he provides. Bergvall, progressive carries as well, and he's also quite young. Richarlison and Solanke themselves, their overall quality is low, but you still need strikers, and they still provided goals, but just in limited time. So the estimated quality at the bottom, I don't know if I got it right or wrong, but creativity would have taken you up to the 70th percentile. That's Champions League quality percentile. Midfield control would have taken you up to 45th level. But it depends. I don't know how much your team is built to control midfields in the first place. And then so overall, like in terms of competitive level threat, you were missing goals and box threat up to 50 percentile. So the key takeaway is you've lost the majority of your creative players. Through injuries, obviously Richarlison and Solanke aren't up to the quality, but they were still missing. So you had an overall impact, significant drop off from your creativity and your team quality. I mentioned earlier Villa and Man United, and even though the quality of the overall teams aren't too far from you, because they had those creative players, your Bruno Fernandes, your Morgan Rogers, those goal scorers and Buemos and Watkinsons, a lot of those times, those type of players led them through the fire, whether it's to turn a loss into a draw into a win, that got them up the tables. Him and that back, I mean, what do you think? And do you think it's accurate? And do you think that this would have made a change? I don't know whether the same changes at Villa and Man United, but how would it, if at all, change your season had you had those players available?
Well, the season before we got Frank, I think we had I think it was our third or fourth highest amount of goals ever in the Premier League. So the manager has a massive say in how you play and how your profile, how you set up, how your platforms, and availability, of course, that plays a massive factor into it. Frank was more or less, he was meant to be the halfway house where we did concede a lot under Ange. And so he was brought in to make it a little bit more sensible, should I say. But being sensible, you kind of lost the culture and identity of the actual team, because a lot of that team was built by Ange and it was led by his philosophy, and that was to be brave, it was to be courageous. And Frank came in, he took some of that away. And Ange was more like, we don't need to focus on the opposition because we're the main guys. Whereas Frank was the opposite. He was like, you definitely need to focus on the other guys and you need to respect Arsenal. And I think
Totally different.
Totally different, do you know what I mean? And so I didn't realize that their philosophies and their ideologies and their even just their ability to read a room was so far off, so different, miles apart. Even though like they both played in a 4-2-3-1, but principally they were like completely different. And so when you've got players that were built for the other manager and this new one comes in, it's going to affect your overall numbers. And then, as we said before, availability, missing players that had a big say in Ange's in terms of output. You know, Frank didn't have a lot of those guys, so that's ultimately going to affect him. He did get new guys in, as we see Xavi Simons and Mohamed Kudus was to help bridge the gap where Kulusevski and Maddison were missing. But again, Kudus got injured. He missed half the season. Xavi needed time to get used to the Prem because he wasn't Prem proven. And so neither manager was about control. Ironically, Frank didn't want to control.
That makes sense.
And neither did Ange. Ange didn't want to control. Ange was all about the chaos. Do you know what I mean? Frank was a bit more direct. Right. Like he wanted less passes, whereas Ange wouldn't mind doing short passes. He thought the closer your players were together, the easier it is to keep the ball. Whereas Frank wanted to create wide triangles, keep players with bigger distances. So then 3 or 4 passes, you can go long into the channels. You could avoid the middle because he was all about statistically, if you played in the middle, you would more likely to lose the ball. So he was all data led. He was all about statistical information. Where's the best way to score your goal? And then ironically, we conceded the most goals outside of the box because Frank didn't believe in defending outside the box. You know what I mean? He was like, oh, the XG tells us that, you know, you're less likely to score a goal from there. And therefore, you know, we need to defend the 6-yard box a bit more, which created a lot of space for a lot of teams just on the edge of the D or just outside, just inside that box. And yeah, we got punished for it. So both guys had flaws where Ange was more susceptible because he was so gun-ho, he was so aggressive, and he committed so many players forward, it left space in behind. So we got tonked for it. We got hammered for that. And Frank was there. He said, let's not be so aggressive. Maybe we don't commit so many bodies forward and let's build in a different way. Let's maybe build a little bit slower and then hit the channels. So yeah, they just had different ways of trying to get to that goal mouth. And essentially philosophies for 2 different managers for same team effectively didn't work. Do you know what I mean? And so I think De Zerbi is a lot more about the midfield control, more so. So I think that's the
box midfield.
Yeah, he's less about direct. He would rather build up slowly and then hit you quickly, if that makes sense. Whereas those guys were like, give me, now. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I want it. So I think that's the difference in the play styles, and that should be the biggest change between and then also the mentality, because I think you get a bit of the mentality of an Ange from De Zerbi. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of like personality, like saying things with his chest, wearing his heart on his sleeves. People react to that. They think, oh yeah, he's a real person. I want to run through a brick wall for him. Whereas I think Frank was a bit more polite, reserved, more of a gentleman, methodical, like to think things through and walk through with the players about each game week, what we're going to do different. There wasn't a lot of consistency week by week because the game plan had to change. And he liked so many, like sometimes when you got too much knowledge and too much information, you kind of tweak it too much, if that makes sense. And your overall philosophy gets lost.
That makes a lot of sense, because I was thinking about how have you still got 50 percentile even after those players return. But what you're saying, especially with the philosophies of the two managers and Frank and Ange, makes a lot of sense. And before I get to the conclusion part, like I was going to ask you, what would you want, Ash? Like, how would you want Tottenham to kind of be playing going forward?
I do like the Zerbi style. I think we're going to need to mix it up because I think he came in, nobody knew his tactics at the time. He changed football meta. And then all of the other coaches started using his ideas and his principles in terms of how to build up and how many players to bring into the actual build-up phase. And then how to make the team a lot more transitional and hurt teams. So I think he's going to have to mix up a little bit more, especially when it comes to low block teams. Teams are going to know that we're going to try and bait the press, whether it be in the defensive third or in the mid third. They're going to know, like, okay, they're not going to jump as quick. So we're going to have to figure out different ways to kind of bring players into the mix. And he's going to have to find ways to get the best out of his players because he's going to bring different profiles into the system where he thinks can fit his system the best. It's whether we can buy that quality, because overall, we need players with a higher IQ. To play the system, I think you need a technical level and an understanding where you've got coaches on the pitch. And I think
You need growth.
yeah, you do need a growth. You do need a growth. And you need that fluidity, that flexibility tactically, where players, they're not rigid and they're stuck to one position. If one player pushes forward, you know to drop into that space and vice versa. And then relationships are formed within the pitch and then hopefully the rest sorts itself out, man. But that's ideally what I would like to see. I'd ideally like to see. And the one thing I know about the Zerbi, which I do rate, is his first halves are normally quite slow, a bit like Conte. And second half, his team starts to pick up goals. You see the metrics go up because he's figured out what the other team are trying to do and he negates it. So he's got IQ. He's got IQ.
So you're going to see some in-game management. So there could be. Do you foresee Tottenham bringing another midfielder on top of Tonali or someone?
Apparently so. Apparently that's what they're saying. They're apparently saying that Tonali's not the only midfielder they're bringing in, which is interesting. Which means they've all identified that issue in terms of build-up, in terms of progressing the play, defense from attack. That is a massive issue at Spurs at the moment. And Tonali obviously is one piece, and that's something that the managers asked for. But is he the piece that's going to help us control games when there's going to be teams where we're going to need to break them down? They're going to be allowing us to have a lot more of the ball. But do we have a player that has the intelligence to break that down? Some might say Maddison is. Maddison's that creative player that can do that. Does he have the physicality? Does he have the legs to do the know-how? Can he do it over a season? Can we trust him? Can he trust his own body? There's so many questions with that. Do we need someone that's a bit deeper as well, like we were saying before, building up, having that build-up phase? I think maybe that's the player that's trying to earmark, and maybe that's the reason why we've been linked with players like Wharton. Even though Wharton, I don't say he lacks physicality because he has got quite physical. He's quite physical in wide areas. Centrally, I think is where people have question marks. If a team transition you centrally, is he able to position himself to know where to get his angles right to win the ball in those midfield areas? Is he strong at that?
Yeah.
On the ball, like there's no question about it. He's a unique profile in terms of breaking the lines. he's the best in the league, hands down. There's no other like him. But yeah, that's the player we need. That's the type of player we need anyway. And there's not a lot of them in the Premier League, and that's why whoever gets him or whoever wants him has to pay top dollar. But I do know he's a Liverpool fan, so yeah, I'm not confident on that one.
It's going to be difficult, but somewhat along those lines.
Yeah.
Well, folks, just to conclude on Tottenham, we talked about their finances. They're already from, they're in a good, strong financial position. We've seen that with the type of offers they've been making and bids they're making as well. We talked about their overall squad quality and minutes, kind of judged that as overall squad quality around 52 percentile, which is just about a competitive Premier League team. We'll talk about their extensive injury crisis, the creativity they lost as a result of it, the midfield control, which they even doesn't sound like they had in the first place because of managerial philosophies, but there's certainly changes to be made to that as well as the goal threat and defensive leadership. I mean, the final verdict has been like the squad quality has not been consistent, and I think that's partly due to injuries. But sounds like it's all from what Ash has really informed us and explained to us was the managerial philosophies that they've kind of been going through from Ange to Frank to very different different ways of managing, which has probably affected the players as well. But the underlying squad quality suggests that what Tottenham do have is a mid-table to European caliber team when available, when everyone's available. I think that could go higher should you improve your strikers, for instance, and on Solanke and what's his, those guys there. We didn't even get to talk about your strikers that much, really.
Yeah, I know. But do you know why? Because I think the striker market, and I think it's important to notice this, I don't think the striker market is as prevalent or as strong as the wide market. The wider areas or the midfielder areas, I think there's more availability in terms of goals, creativity. I think the striker market is very few between, especially in the Premier League. There's a few strikers I like. For example, I like Mateta. I think we could possibly get him because he wanted to leave. I think it was in January. He was trying to go to AC Milan. Whether he'd want to come to Spurs is another question, but I just think he's someone that could be, he's got good link-up play. He's got physicality, athleticism as well. That's something like De Zerbi likes, players that can link play very well. He had players like João Pedro from Brighton, that's now at Chelsea. He's an intelligent player. So I just see he's not quite at the level of João Pedro, but in terms of what he can do off the ball and bring other players in, I think he could do that quite well. And then I like the fact that he's in the box quite a lot, able to get into the end of stuff. But yeah, I was going to say the wide areas for me, I think that's really important because at the moment we've got a lot of direct wingers. And I think a different profile Spurs should go for is maybe a wide creator, someone that could create and score goals, but from almost like how Xavi Simons was coming off that flank and
Magnus Akliouche type.
Yeah, exactly, like an interior almost like a Bernardo Silva, you can, or even like I don't know if you saw the Korea game, and it was Kangin Lee. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah.
From the wide areas, was dropping in the 6th row. It could be in an 8. It could go out wide. It could someone like that on the wing. I think will be a different profile because I think we've got Odegaard, we've got Tel, we've got Kudos. They're very 1v1. Even Savinho is like 1v1 demon. Do you know what I mean? He's good at combining. Don't get me wrong. That's why I'm not mad at Savinho. And he's more of a creator than a goal threat. And I think there's different type of wide players you can get, or different wingers. You can get your traditional wingers that go on the outside, hit crosses. You can get your inverted forwards that go and cut in and try to score goals. And you just got like your Dokus that are just great at 1v1s. You've got your Ndais that are just chaos merchants where they dribble, they are direct, they can take 3 or 4 players out the game. But then you've also got wide creators, in my opinion, like a Trossard can do that. He can create, he can come inside. Bernardo Silva can come inside and create in that way. So I think that profile at Spurs were kind of missing that kind of wide creative role that sometimes through their movement, they create for others. Or their movement off the ball or on the ball, they create for others. They bring other team players in, teammates in. Do you know what I mean? You're hitting diagonal crosses, cutbacks, through balls. You're hurting teams in different ways, asking different questions. Do you know what I'm saying? And so that Akalush, like you said, that kind of profile, I think that would be more suited for Spurs because we had a massive creative issue and a midfield issue as well. And I think that would solve two things as opposed to getting another 1v1 dribbly type of winger, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ash, before I end the show, where can folks find you?
You can find me on. I actually just did a post today on Tonali. Yeah, don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah. So you can find me at Ashmatic. So if you type at Ashmatic with the 3 at the end, or Spurs Kings TV, I always at them, so they repost my stuff. But on YouTube, you can catch me on Spurs Kings TV, and yeah, I'm here and there on YouTube, bro. That's it, man. Big up. Thanks for having me, man. Big up to the chat as always.
The pleasure has been
payback as well. I love every time.
The pleasure has been all ours, and folks have been we've been talking all things Tottenham tonight in terms of our part of our former rivals lens series. Started off by talking about Tonali and Van Hecke and the transfers for that, what it means for Tottenham, before we got into the nitty and the gritty of the team itself, their financial situation, how they're heading into the transfer window. They're selling paintings just to get over the line. That's that kind of dedication. You need, we need a lot more of that as well. But we've also talked about the squad quality, and not just the metrics, but the players and everything else. And the quality of analysis took it through the roof for us, understanding where Tottenham are at and where they're going to. Also understanding the history of their managerial philosophies, how that's impacted the players as well. Not on top of the injuries and everything else, and what De Zerbi's trying to fix through recruitment of your Tonalis and the possibility of getting another midfield and possibly a striker as well, where they're heading to. So I'm hoping that by the end of the transfer window, we'll be getting Ash to come back with us and follow up on today's meeting and today's show, and see has his wishes come true? Have the gaps been filled, and what's his prediction for Tottenham as well? But the chat, as always, you guys have been phenomenal with your questions and everything that you're doing. Really appreciate you guys. Ash, deepest appreciation to you as well, for coming on the show, doing your thing, and yeah, adding the quality, the stardust to the show and everything else. Guys, as always, I always tell you guys to make sure you look after each other, and as always, folks, take care and God bless.
Peace.